Point. Welcome to the PP Show, where the D-Gens come to have discussions. Here at the PP Show, everyone has a voice, no matter how long you've traded in the markets. We love all opinions at the PP Show, and we hope you do too. Always remember this show is mainly comprised of opinion, speculation, and entertainment. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, you dildo enthusiasts. God bless Teddy and G-Merica. One last thing, always remember, talk is cheap. It takes money to buy whiskey.
shoot. Oh,
PP's taking a night off, so it's ABC here in the chair. I've got control of the dildo slap tonight. I've never been so excited in my life, man. Michael, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Is my audio working? I wasn't expecting to be in here. I didn't know my...
That's all right. I guess I didn't have your screen tilted. I was going to bring on your intro, but you're already here, my man.
There we
How
go.
you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited. Way excited.
You're a little bit pixelated. I don't know if you want to rejoin or something, but your video looks a little bit off, brother.
Okay. Here, one sec. I'll be back. Go ahead and pull in Travis while I figure it out.
Okay. Let's bring in Travis here because I'm really nervous on the screen here. But let's get Travis's intro. Which one should I pick? The old one for Travis or the new one? Let's show the new one. Travis, brother, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, man. Good.
Why are you nervous?
What? I don't know. I can't do this shit like PP does. You know, he's a natural at it. Me, I'm camera shy, and yeah, I like to read books and eat crayons, brother.
The blue ones taste the best.
Yeah, green too. Green too. So we're gonna have Jake and Sal coming on a little bit later, but I want anything new you want to bring up, Travis, before we get these boys on. I think they've got some stuff prepared. Sal also prepared a nice little video, but I'm gonna wait till he shows up backstage before we play it. He just put out a nice little video that I think we should all watch. But yeah, anything you come across? I saw a docket drop earlier.
Yeah, I did see a docket drop. It's just about the hearing that's coming up on October 28th. I do have some things I want to discuss, but I can't spoil Jake's thing because we actually worked on it. I'm assuming what he's going to be talking about is what me and him were working on late this afternoon. We were DMing back and forth on Twitter, going over quite a few different things on Form 25 and Form 15. So I'll let him go over that because he can articulate it in a way that I cannot. I mean, I'm good at diving in and getting the information, but the way he articulates it is just, he has finesse where I'm clumsy.
Yeah, he's a well-spoken. He's very fluid, well-spoken, good-looking guy with the beautiful hair.
Great hair.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were a few other things that dropped. Couple things with Pulte tweeting on a conversation. PP and I were having a conversation with a certain individual on Twitter. If anybody was following that, y'all kind of saw how it goes, and it ended up being very constructive. And this individual called out Pulte on Twitter, and he actually makes 2 comments on it, talking about how he just, he loves the show and enjoys it. And then all of a sudden, my notifications went off. They went bizarre. It was insane how many notifications I've had in the last few hours for people commenting and liking. So, getting a lot of traffic there. And along with that, he also tweeted M&A, and I actually have it up to go ahead and share real quick.
Yeah, pull that up. I'm going to interrupt. I forgot to do our wonderful disclaimer like PP does. So
yeah, let's do that.
I am not a professional in any capacity. We are here tonight just to simply share ideas, collaborate, discuss our favorite stock, Bed Bath & Beyond. None of the guests that are here are professionals. So if you are looking for financial advice, we ask you to seek the appropriate measures necessary. You won't find any here. Just like PP says, it's like in the goddamn bar, hanging out, having a couple beers and talking the stock. So again, no financial advice here. We're just collectively getting together and shooting the shit about a stock we love.
Can you put a link for Sal?
Yeah, this is our Moe's from The Simpsons. We're just here hanging out, talking, shooting stuff. What is it on Family Guy? What's the name of it? The Drunken Clam. This is our Drunken Clam. So
yeah. I've got Jake and Salvatore backstage, but why don't we bring up what you got there, my man? I'll throw it up on screen.
And so Pulte tweeted this afternoon. It says M&A. That's it. Nothing else. Who knows what this means? Is it Mushrooms and asparagus? I don't know.
Probably.
In my
That's what
line
I
of
thought.
work, M&As are usually for mergers and acquisitions. Is this Bobby related? Who knows? Could be Pulte Group related. We don't know. I mean, he's very candid, and uh, it does bring traffic, especially from our community, because we love to see stuff like this. But he's made it known that he doesn't hold a position in Bed Bath and Beyond. But could this be related? Who knows? But it's fun tinfoil, and then I thought it was definitely worth sharing. Um, but yeah, fun stuff today.
Yeah, I mean, interpret it however you want, right? M&A, mushrooms and asparagus, merger and acquisition. Who the hell knows? But Pulte's been on the show before. He's a big part of this community, and he's explicitly said, he's not involved in Bed Bath and Beyond in any capacity. I think what he really loves is the community. I think he really loves the PP show and what we're trying to do, and share the mission and the vision of naked short selling, and a little bit more transparency in the market is needed for retail investors. So collectively, I think he's part of this community because he too has witnessed his own company be attacked. He's good friends with RC, and RC's being attacked, and he certainly knows of Elon, and they've been on the receiving end of short attacks. So again, I think it's really more about the mission and the vision of what's going on in the marketplace. And we welcome him with open arms. Like, the guy's a good guy. Invite us down to his office. We got to have some good times, cheeseburgers, and you yourself, Travis, were able to hop on a private plane with him. And I'm sure that was just a wild ride in itself.
It was endearing more than anything. And when I say this, I want to make sure that I say it properly. I mean, he is just a very, very genuine person. He asked me about my background, a little bit about my life story. He was really trying to get to know me early on, and when we were on the private jet, and he just showed me that he's truly just a very, very genuine person who really likes the show, and he's trying to get to know. He was trying to get to know us. He was trying to get to know all three of us on the plane, and it was nice to get to sit down to talk to him, pick his brain, and we talked a lot about the show, about where he would like to see the show go, and he gave us some ideas, which I think we've shared with everybody who comes on a little bit. If not, I wouldn't mind sharing with the rest of y'all about, like, kind of our next steps, or and where, how do we progress from here. And so he made us think a little bit, and also try to get some ideas from us about what we saw for the future of it. And it was really nice conversation for the 2 hours that we got to spend with him. um I did want to point out one other thing before I forget, and before we bring on Jake and Salvatore. It's not big, it's not Bed Bath and Beyond related, it's not GME related, IEP, AMC, anything like that, but it might have something to do with naked short selling. And that is Sears Canada, that's traded OTC, which is SRSCP, I think is the ticker, ran 198 million% today, from 0.00001 pennies to $1.99 on 180 volume.
Welcome to the Matrix, man. Like,
welcome to our stock market.
On?
What? No, that's what I trying to figure out. How does something run 198 million% on 180 volume? SRSCQ. Thank you, Booger. I missed it. Sorry, I missed the rest of your name. But yeah, that's insane to run from fractions of a penny to $1.99 on 180 volume. Is on a stock that's apparently not tradable. And it's run on, unfortunately, Citadel is the market maker, I believe, for this now. So, I mean, just a little fun fact that I thought was very interesting today. It's like, what's going on here? And if Sears Holding from Twitter is out there listening, man, dude, props, congrats. Hey, I hope it stays at that price for you. So
yeah,
or it keeps going up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. When there's low liquidity, you don't really know what the actual price is. The price is what someone will sell it for, unless you have payment order flow get in the way. But
yeah, it was an interesting little fun thing. But anyways, we can stop sharing this. I just kind of thought this was an interesting little a fun tweet that we can speculate what it means, but at the same time, it could be tinfoil. It could be nothing. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, well done, man. And yeah, definitely the Sears thing is definitely weird. Maybe it's a foreshadow. You know what I mean, brother? Maybe it's a foreshadow of something to come. But
Maybe
anyway,
it's part of something.
yeah.
Well, they're part of M3 Partners. So
Well,
there's that.
yeah, Sears has an agreement with M3 Partners until February of 2024. So I am expecting something to happen with Sears very, very shortly. Now, whether it was a glitch or something's going on in the background that we can't explain, but I definitely see within the next couple of months a little bit more activity on the Sears behalf, just because the M3 agreement's coming to an end, and they usually end up involved in some capacity, being a trustee or an escrow provider for equity offerings. So I do see a rebirth for Sears coming shortly, but again, that's more speculation at this point in time. And yeah, so I'm going to bring in Jake to be and Salvatore. I'll bring them in both at once. I'm going to see if I can get that round of applause that PP's always got going here. So everybody, welcome Jake to be and Salvatore. Jake, my man, welcome, brother. Sal, maybe we can get some mic tests.
Mic test.
And Jake, brother, well, he might have stepped away for a quick second there because his video's blacked out. Actually, he's got no internet connection. Yeah. Jake, I'm going to disconnect you and have you re-log in, man. If you can't get back in, just message Michael or Travis and we'll get you a link. Sal, I got a video to play, my man, and rumors through the mill is that you built this in about half an hour of time.
Yeah.
Mind if I play the video for everybody?
Go for it. Let them see.
Okay, I got to share my screen here. Oh, there's Jake. Let's get him in. Jake, brother, how are you?
Jake. Earth to Jake. Hey, there he is.
Hey, there we go.
How are you, brother?
Welcome back to Earth.
How's it going, guys? Well, I didn't know. I was trying to figure out why my thingy wasn't working, but there's the magic right there. How's everybody doing?
Good, man. Good. Good day today?
Yeah. Sorry that you guys have to deal with me as the B team to help fulfill the missing spots on the show, but I figure, I'll give it a shot. Why not? But yeah, it was a pretty exciting day today. Travis and I were going down a rabbit hole with wondering why the Options Clearing Corp picked October 20th as the day. So we'll chat about that a little bit, but yeah, I'm glad the thingy works. I don't know why my video wasn't working a second ago. So
it's all good.
I have it ready.
I'm just about to play a video here that Sal made. Just give me
do it up
back and see if I can get this up and running here. Are you guys seeing that? Yeah, hopefully the volume's good here.
In gardens kissed by morning's gentle light, there dwells a creature graceful and free, a symbol of change and eternity. The butterfly, a wondrous sight to see, embodies life's sweet metamorphosis decree. From caterpillar's crawl, it does arise. With fragile wings it takes to the skies. A lesson learned in nature's grand design. The change is constant, an endless line. From chrysalis to beauty, it transforms. With patience, evolution's grace performs. In life we too must undergo this dance. Embrace the shifts, give change a chance. For in the struggle we find our wings, and from adversity new hope springs. As seasons change and eras start anew, we face the unknown, uncertain and true. But like the butterfly, we can take the leap, and in our evolution, our promise keep. Through trials and tribulations, we must strive to let our inner beauty, our true selves arrive. With patience as our guide, we will arise into a brighter era under endless skies. So let the butterfly be our guiding light, a symbol of change taking flight. In evolution's embrace, we'll find our way, transformed and stronger, come what may.
Wow. Great.
Sweet.
Well,
That's pretty cool, man.
Fucking
It was
amateur.
lagging a bit for me. I felt like David Attenborough today, you know, get them butterflies out. And here we have a wild butterfly raping short sellers to their death.
Gosh.
I could actually see you doing that, Sal. Your voice is just silky and smooth, brother. You know, who knows, my man? You might have a calling. So, Jake,
Polte had
Sal.
a message for you, ABC.
Yo,
I think, can anyone get the tweet up?
which one?
Just before I came on the show, he had a message for you, actually.
Oh, really? Michael, can you pull that up, my man?
Yeah, I'll pull it up right now.
I apologize to Chad here. I'm not as smooth as PP, but we're giving the gentleman a night off here, so excuse all the friggin' hiccups. But
Slacker. RC would be disappointed in him.
No way.
Work or leave, you know?
let's see.
Wait, so what are we looking for?
We're looking for Pult. Where is it, Sal?
Oh, if you go to Polt's replies, it should be there. Holy shit, he's active today. All right. It was just a response to the video I put up to the link to the show
Okay.
today.
There we go.
There it is.
Hello, ABC. Hello. There we
Oh,
go.
wow.
Nice.
There you go, buddy.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah. So
Appreciate
hello,
that.
ABC from Polte.
Nice, nice.
He's
You know, that
probably
guy is
watching now.
such a gentleman. I remember us being in his office in Florida, and he had to almost grind pee-pee a little bit. And he was about to swear. He was about to kind of unload just a mouthful on pee-pee for a quick second. And he turned to me and he says, "There's a woman present, Mrs. ABC." And I looked at Mrs. ABC. She kind of gave me the wink. It's all right. Let him drop it. And then he just dropped some bombs in terms of swear words. So what a gentleman. But yeah, no, I really appreciate Bill. And, you know, I'm just honored he's a part of this community. So thanks, Bill. I'm sure you're in the chat. If not, hit me up. You still don't follow me yet, bro.
What is your, because your Twitter handle is completely different than what you normally go by. What is your Twitter handle? Maybe he doesn't even know it's you.
It's at Yonder Being.
Yonder Bean. Got it. And yeah, Pulte roasted PP when we were with him, man. It was great.
Yeah. So, Sal, Jake, you guys, do you have something? I know, Travis, you were working with Jake today on something.
I was, but I would like to touch one last thing before we really get into what they want to get into, and that is that it was brought to my attention today that docket 29, which I'll share now, had a very special clue for us way back in the day, and it apparently has been brought up several times, and it's just like there was so much noise or so much activity going on that was never really brought to the forefront. And I think that this needs the public eye, is that docket 29, which was filed on April 23rd. Let me see if I can't highlight it. Can you share what I'm sharing?
Yeah. Let me pull that up for you. And I'm going to save, I know the donations are coming in. I'm going to kind of save them when we have a little bit of blanket time. If I miss you, I will try and see if I can go through it at the end of the show here. We're having a power hour tonight, so we're just going to lay a bunch of information for the chat and audience and just have a little bit of fun here. So if I missed your donation, please know that it is not intentional. We appreciate any money for the PP show. It helps PP do what he does best. So again, please, if I missed your donation, don't be offended in any way.
So the beautiful thing about this is if you look at the email address, it says they can be reached at project.butterfly.2023.wg@lazard.com. Now, this obviously just kind of went over our heads way back in April. We didn't think anything of it, but if we look closely, this is from April 23rd. It's almost as if the butterfly has been part of the plan all along. It's something beautiful that I ran across. I'm like, this needs to be shared with everybody. For anybody who's missed it, and I know people were even saying on the subreddit today, oh, this was brought up here, this was brought up here, and it's like, I never saw this. Like, it kind of just got, maybe there was some oversight, maybe most people know about it, and I just zoomed past it and didn't realize it. But yeah, it's pretty interesting that this was in April 23rd.
Yeah, no, I saw this a while ago. I did mention it. You're just late to the game, brother. But no, it's absolutely amazing, and you'll find that a lot of companies do this when they launch a new project as such. They generally tail it. So you had IEP with and Newell with Project Phoenix. Obviously, this one being called Project Butterfly, and we're now seeing the new holding companies through DK being named as Butterfly. Outside Carl's office, he's got a statue, and we didn't even notice that the day that we took a walk down to his office. The butterfly is sitting right outside his building there, all on this tree. I mean, it's amazing to see. So the end is near, and it's pretty amazing to be a part of this. And Sal's video is just perfect timing tonight for this because, we're witnessing something called a butterfly effect. So.
Agreed.
Yes, it's interesting that they had the foresight to name it as project, and it goes along with everything that we've seen today, which is that it's been strategic and purposeful, hence the limited kind of auction details, despite 150 interested parties having 26 qualified requirements and picking the second one, Dream on Me. So it looks like something has been planned bigger, and this wasn't just a Chapter 11 to liquidation, and it's evident through the new entities that have come up with the DK Butterfly sequentially named up to 38. So does anyone have any idea what the WG might stand for? Is it like someone's initials, one of the Lazard staff, or?
Am I still echoey, or is it better now?
You're better now, brother.
You're good.
Okay, cool. I had wondered if WG was for a working group. That's the best I could come up with, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a strong possibility. That makes sense. But yeah, I mean, April 23rd, that docket dropped, right? Which was the day of the bankruptcy, right, Travis? And Lazard was right in from the beginning, and we still have yet to see the final billing for Lazard. And I anticipate that to be one of the last ones to drop. And that will really, I believe, give a clear indication of what's around the corner. But maybe they'll hold that till after. Who knows, right? They don't necessarily have to drop in advance.
They know I'm waiting for it because they dropped that. GG. That's it. I mean, we know. Everybody knows that they're still in it, so they're stalling. That's fine. Go ahead. I can wait. I can wait. I'm waiting for it though.
Yeah, I think there will definitely be some confirmation in there. Absolutely, like with regards to what kind of sales occurred and that sort of thing. So, I wouldn't be
that means they're
surprised
still
if it was
engaged.
released. Sorry?
That means they're still engaged. That means their job's not done. That means they have to oversee one last alternative transaction. So
yeah, well, that's what they're about, right? Is merger and acquisitions. Something like I think Bill Pulte posted today, M&A, something like that.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go get some. I'm gonna go get some tinfoil to replace my cap here and throw a tinfoil hat on for the rest of the night because there's lots of it today.
Yeah. So Jake, man, maybe you want to take the floor and just drop like you normally do and enlighten us with some new insight or some findings that you had. I know you made a post earlier about Form 25, Form 15, and kind of all the issues surrounding it and timelines that could possibly arise from such. So did you want to take the lead here?
Yeah, absolutely, sure. So I had the whole crux of it was that I had found an article, and it was kind of a law firm had posted it on their own website discussing the use of Form 25 and Form 15 in a merger and acquisition. And it's funny because I stumbled on it completely by accident because originally I had been looking for what Travis and I were talking about, which is if the 90 days begun as of the date that you complete the filing of the Form 25 or after the date that it becomes effective, which is 10 days later, because there's a window for the SEC to object. So we still don't know anything, but while I was looking for that, this kind of stumbled on me. And so this was a law firm. I posted it on the PP sub today, but I'll just go over it in case anybody hasn't seen it. But so it just basically summarizes the obligations that you have to make with regards to reporting procedures and obligations towards the SEC. So it says that before running for the exits, an acquired company must first meet several requirements to successfully deregister from its reporting obligations. Often, an acquired company will have reporting obligations under each of sections 12B, 12G, and 15D. Now, these are addressed by both the Form 25 and the Form 15. So once you first determine the company's eligibility to terminate registration under Section 12B, then you go to 12G, and finally you do it in with Section 15D. And the important thing is that you have to do it in order. I don't know why, but I did notice that they do have to occur in sequence, and I substantiated this with the Kirkland and Ellis Journal article that was about going dark as well. They mentioned the same thing. So then it says, in order to suspend a company's reporting obligations under Section 15D, with respect to a class of securities, the company must be up to date on all its required reporting obligations, and such class of securities must have either, and then it's just these little requirements that we know that they satisfied. But so that this kind of gave an explanation as to why they still went ahead and did the 10K. So everyone wondered why, if they're going to be bankrupt and just liquidate and there's not going to be any company around, why bother doing the 10K that they released in June and then the 8K that they subsequently released in September. And so in doing those two, they had become up to date. So they were able then to qualify to stop reporting to the SEC. So once eligible, a company may deregister at any time with the board, but normally not stockholder approval. So the board members conduct the approval, but stockholders are not part of the decision. That's normal, and that's what the Form 15 had also done. So then the important point that it makes the designation for that I want to focus on is delisting versus deregistration. So they're two separate things, and they both have to occur. And so let me go over it here. So though the process of both deregistering with the commission and delisting from any exchange on which the company's securities are traded are mainly related conceptually and in practice, nevertheless, it is important to distinguish between what each accomplishes. So it says delisting involves removal from the exchange in which the acquired company's stock was traded. And deregistration involves terminating or suspending the company's reporting requirements under the Exchange Act. So these are two critical different things, right? So one is regarding the exchange only, and then one is reporting to the SEC. So the important thing so far that I want to highlight is, of course, these are being done in respect to a merger and acquisition. So I'm going to show you as we go on why it's more and more relevant and related to what has happened thus far with this company, and why I speculate that this is exactly going according to plan as how you would conduct yourself and your old business before you become acquired. So then further down the page, it says merger consideration securities. Under Rule 12D2-2A, an exchange must file a Form 25 to deregister a class of securities, which we saw happen on July 10th. So the important thing, as I mentioned, that Travis and I will talk about in a little bit, is there's a filing date and there's an effective date. So the filing date is obviously the day that it gets posted to the SEC Edgar, and then the effective date is 10 days later because there's an objection period. Obviously, there were no objections because they would have been posted on Edgar and we would have known about them. So it went into effect on July 20th and was filed on July 10th. In the context of a merger, once the certificate of merger has been accepted by the applicable Secretary of State, any class of securities that represents the right to receive cash merger consideration will, by law, no longer qualify to be listed, and the exchange upon which such class of securities is listed must strike those securities from the exchange by filing a Form 25 with the Commission. So interestingly here, it notes that in the case of a merger, the exchange is the one filing the Form 25, which is also what happened with Bed Bath, right? So initially I thought that it wasn't anything suspicious or a big deal that the exchange had conducted the delisting, because originally when the company had filed for bankruptcy, NASDAQ were the ones that had issued the notice that they were going to delist, and the company, if you remember, had mentioned that they weren't going to object. So, under that pretense, I thought it was fine that they were doing the Form 25. But here we see a secondary source that says that it is not unusual in a merger that the exchange would be the one doing the Form 25 reporting, which I thought was worth mentioning. So then it says, after the Form 25, the deal lawyer or the company need to be in communication with the relevant exchange in advance of filing the certificate of merger to coordinate the delisting of the merger consideration securities. So that again is important because it tells you that well in advance, or maybe as early as July, maybe August, coordinating with the fee statements from Tamar Donikin and Anthony Zangrillo, the NASDAQ may have already known about the merger occurring. And so it says here that you, as a company and as a law firm, file in advance with the exchange so that they know what might be coming. And I'll go into why that is relevant in a little bit. So then the next section breaks down a little bit more about 12G and 15D. So these are the two other reporting elements after 12B. So it says, so we discussed delisting, right? So the delisting is strictly to the exchange, and now I'm going to go to deregistering. So in order to successfully deregister, an acquired public company must terminate each layer of its registration under the Exchange Act. Previously indicated, deregistration occurs with Section 12B, and then it occurs in conjunction with delisting. But then to terminate 12G reporting or suspend 15D registration, the company must file a Form 15 for each class of securities to be deregistered. And we noticed that that did occur on September 29. So it should not alarm anyone that the forms that came out on the 29th mentioned that the securities would be canceled, because again, what I'm trying to say is this is standard procedure in a merger, and it's required as a prerequisite before the merger can occur. You have to get rid of the old securities. So here it breaks down again with the Form 15. It says, a filing of Form 25 alone will not get the company through the deregistration door. Completing deregistration typically requires an appropriately filed Form 15. So I'll skip this long paragraph here, where it says later, though, that Rule 12G-4 provides for termination of revived Section 12G reporting obligations. I noted that because you'll note that the form that was filed with the SEC on the 29th by David Caston noted that they were using Rule 12G-4A1 as the reason why they were filing the Form 15. And so here again, it says Rule 12G-4 is strictly used for the termination of revived Section 12G reporting obligations, which goes hand in hand with making sure that you do not have to lose your exemption for reporting. Because if there is a replacement security, it's being held under what's called 12A-5, which is in parallel with Rule 1145 from the Bankruptcy Code. It goes hand in hand to provide like a blanket exemption for reporting right now. But there will be events that will eliminate that reporting, at which point they have to file those with the SEC. So the 12G-4 makes sure that they have covered their bases so they don't have to reveal the intentions before they are ready to do so. And then the last page I thought was very interesting that I'm going to note as well is it's titled Those Pesky Shelf Registration Statements. And so we noticed that with the Form 25 in July and then the Form 15, there were also a bunch of S8s and S3s. And so everyone was wondering why they were canceling all these securities, because the language may have scared you in saying shares will be canceled. But there's a catch, because if you would have read every word in those filings, it would tell you that this was only for distributed but unsold securities. So importantly, this deals with employee benefit plans and stock options and ways that you want to pay your employees outside of their typical salary with maybe share bonuses. These also have to separately be deregistered. So I'm going to go into that now. So a nuance in Rule 12H-3C creates issues for companies trying to deregister while they have outstanding registration statements on the shelf. Rule 12H disallows suspension of 15D reporting for the remainder of any fiscal year in which an issuer had a registration statement that became effective or was required to be updated under Section 10A3. So, importantly, you have to address these separately. So, the Commission, which is the SEC, provides such relief in Staff Legal Bulletin number 18, which is the pretext under which they performed this shelf registration removal. It lifts the requirements of subparagraph C of Rule 12H-3 in the context of an abandoned IPO or an acquisition. Or this also deals with shelf registrations, which were presented when they did the bond offering, when HBC had arrived with the ATM equity offering. There were shelf registrations that accounted for those as well, right? So those also have to be dealt with aside from the other reporting obligations. So it says here, to comply with this third requirement under the Staff Legal Bulletin, the company must deregister all unsold securities and take down any effective registration statements, including shelf registration statements on Forms S3 and S8 before filing their Form 15. And so we noticed that on September 29th, they had done the S3s and the S8s. They had done the effective registration statements, and then they had done the shelf registration statements. That's why there were so many of them. And then they filed the Form 15. But importantly, they had to do those independently to be able to do the Form 15. So it says here that post-effective amendments to registration statements on Form S8 and automatic shelf registration statements on Form S3 are effective or immediately effective upon filing. So the other thing with Form 15 is it's also effective immediately upon filing. So what we have now is a company that, as of the effective date and as of the date of substantial consummation, has made all of their required reporting exemptions to be able to do what's called going dark. And so going dark, sorry, do you want to say something?
One key point here is these were done in sequentially for a reason. And if you look at Form 15, which I am trying to share right now, and if you want to bring it up right now, ABC, that now is the time, is that they did these sequentially on purpose and then filed Form 15. But the biggest thing about Form 15 is, I'm sharing it, I'll scroll down, is, let me see if I can zoom in. Right here, is since these were done sequentially, when after all of these were filed, the approximate number of holders of record of certification of notice date was 0. And in order to file Form 15, there's requirements. You have to have less than 300 record holders to file Form 15. Can y'all see that or no?
Yeah.
Okay. And so it was important for them to do this sequentially so that they had 0 record holders as of that date. And so that was the important part. In order to file Form 15, there are requirements. They had to do these sequentially in order to get to Form 15, and then they filed Form 15. And I just wanted to make that point, to say that it was actually very important that this was done in the manner that it was done.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, so this further substantiates the idea that there is something occurring at the end of the tunnel. And the fact, yeah, of course, like you just said, these things had to occur in order. The 12B reporting, the 12G, and then the 15D. So yeah, the order that these happened in was critical. So the S3 and the S8 had to be canceled, and all the unsold securities had to be eliminated. And then the Form 15 comes at the end. And the fact that they did these sequentially in this order is another layer of substantiation that you may conclude that there is a merger occurring. And so the thing that excited me about this article, and I will provide the link I did provide the link on the PP sub. It's the only post I made there today, so it won't be too hard to find. So if you want to find the source article from the law website, you can. But it does note that a certificate of merger or a proxy statement for distribution would have been made in advance. And it would have been sent to the exchange, and it would have been sent to the SEC because they would have an objection period. And there hasn't been anything, no bulletins from the SEC and nothing from the exchange, and no Edgar filings to say that anyone objected. But I did find it quite interesting that if there is a certificate of merger, it would have been filed in advance. And there are parties already that know what's going on. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And then the other stuff, like the going dark. Sorry, I just had a connecting thought. The going dark stuff I talked about before, but then the next step after removing these exemptions is what I had discussed the last time I was on the show, which is that now you're kind of in a small window of time where you don't have to do any SEC filings until you're ready to present the replacement equity. At which point that exemption gets lifted and everything kind of comes back to the public domain. But they're in a window of time right now where they can set everything in place without intervention from anyone to have any sort of, impact on the valuation or whatever, or speculate on what might be happening. And they don't have to do any reporting until they're ready to present everything.
Correct. And just to go further on that about what we were talking about earlier today, not only have they gone dark, they don't need to do any SEC reporting until they're ready, and they can drop all the bombs at once. I mean, they can go nuclear on this thing. But with Form 15, there is a 15-day window that the SEC can or the commission can object to the Form 15. That window ends October 14th, which I believe is Saturday. It was Saturday. It was Saturday.
Yeah.
So we could see all the dockets come as early as Sunday. At the earliest, maybe Saturday night, but I really doubt it. I would probably predict that if we saw anything, it would be this Sunday. at the earliest. And unfortunately, this part is kind of bearish. It can go up to as long as, excuse me, 90 days, which is November 28th. I wouldn't expect that with the way things are going, with the way things have been pre-planned. I would expect to see something happen because the OCC option trading date being moved up to October 20th. That gives us a window between October 14th and October 20th. I would expect to see everything October 15th on Sunday. And then we have our, drum roll please, merger moon day.
Yeah, and so the important point about the 90 days with the Form 15, and I had mentioned this earlier too, is that the Form 15 is used for a handful of different applications, one of which is for companies that just want to abandon SEC reporting but continue existing. And so the 90-day window to be deregistered, I guess, sorry, not delisted, deregistered, is similar to the Form 25 90 days. I don't think it applies like you're thinking as well, just to back up what you're saying. It doesn't apply in this case here. It's when you're using the Form 15 to, as your own company, cease SEC reporting for whatever reason, whether it's too expensive or whether you qualify not to because you have too few holders of record. So that 90 days, I think, is more of a provisionary thing for companies that are just going to continue existing but don't want to be a reporting company with the SEC. I agree with you that I don't think that's something that applies for the current situation and use of the Form 15 here. I think either, like, it really surprised me that nothing came out, but there must be a reason that the OCC has listed October 20th. Obviously, that's in line with 90 days from after the 10 days from the Form 25 filing. So I really believe that something between the 14th and the 20th will happen. When maybe it'll happen Friday after market hours again, like it did last time, or maybe it'll come out Sunday night. But whatever happens going forward, I do believe it will happen between the 13th or 14th and the 20th. And from what I've been told and from what I've read, once things do start happening, it's a very short period of time before it's back on the market and a tradable security. That part's not going to take a very long time. Like once it's back to being reported by the SEC, it's like a 2 working day thing is what I was told.
And I would agree with that. And you know, I see the chat. I know, ban Travis. But no, I'm an accountant. I'm all about full disclosure. November 28th is the latest from 415. However, they have exclusivity through November 20th, so we can already cut that window down. And then you have the options, the OCC moving things up to October 20th, which tells us that, hey, they're expecting something to happen before this because they've gotten word about something happening before this. And they move their deadline to a few days past when they expect everything to happen. So I really do expect Sunday. We probably do get something. Monday is merger moon day. T+2 is the 18th. And then all those options that expire on the 20th are now fall within the dates that they need to be falling within.
Now that you mentioned it, can I say the
I
thing?
mean, that's my thesis, but I was just being, hey, for full disclosure, because, hey, I'm an accountant. I got to do it.
Can I say the thing now that you've brought that up? So, okay. So in that bulletin from the OCC, they cite a couple things. They cite Rule 807, Section 11A, and something called Info Memo 23707. And I want to read something. So I read all of them, and in the Info Memo 23707 was an interesting bit that I want to share with everybody. And so I gained some knowledge from the X Spaces earlier today from Dirty Vader and a couple other folks. So I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to apply that knowledge that I was blessed with as well. So in 23707, it says, if an equity option deliverable is converted to cash by Tuesday of the expiration week, the OCC will accelerate the expiration date to the current standard expiration. However, if the option deliverable is converted to cash after Tuesday of expiration, the OCC will not accelerate the expiration. So I was told that the current standard expiration is the 3rd Friday of every month. So options have a monthly thing where they settle on the Saturday, and so the big option monthly day is the 3rd Friday. So the standard expiration of an option is the 3rd Friday of every month. So now I'm going to read that again, now that everyone knows that. If an equity option is converted to cash by Tuesday of the expiration week, the OCC will accelerate the expiration date to the current standard expiration. So October 20th is the 3rd Friday of October. Therefore, it is the current standard expiration for options for the month of October. So according to the Info Memo 23707, The reason that they picked October 20th as the date on the bulletin is because they expect that by Tuesday of the expiration week, there will be a distribution, according to that memo. So that means that either Monday or Tuesday, they're expecting a distribution. Otherwise, they would have not pushed up the options to expire on October 20th. They would have gone with the following Friday if it were after Tuesday, because if the option is converted after Tuesday of expiration week, the OCC will not accelerate the expiration. So the fact that they did move them up to October 20th, according to their info memo, says that they're expecting a distribution on Monday or Tuesday. Otherwise, they wouldn't have pushed it to October 20th. I just wanted to add that. That's from info memo 23707. It's an amendment to an SEC rule in 2005. If you want to go and read it. Yeah. And
I think that third week of every month is almost referred to as witching day, so to speak, and that is when the options are settled as such. So, again, it's all about timing. And I was a bit worried when the OCC came out with this letter. It's like, are they trying to, get out of an option call, so to speak, or something nefarious as such? But, as per your point, Jake, it's standard procedure. Third week of every month, options are settled and aligned and defined. So I think everything's on track. And based on the Form 25, the Form 15, everything in a sense should be coming to fruition well before that date, which will put these things in play if we stay on the market. And the reason I say that is, again, there's two ways here. We are going back to a public exchange, or possibly we're going to a private exchange, and we're about to fuck around and find out very soon.
Yeah, and I don't know if Travis had mentioned it now, but when we were speaking, he had that the Form 15, the SEC has a 15-day reservation to object to the Form 15. So that 15 days expires, I believe you had said it was October 14th?
Correct.
Which is the
Saturday.
Right? So that 15 days objection period expires on Saturday, and the Options Clearing Corporation is stating that they expect the distribution on Monday or Tuesday. So that aligns with that deadline of allowing the SEC their objection period, right? That expires, which means they accept or they didn't object. And then the reason that they say they picked October 20th is because they're expecting a distribution before Tuesday of that week.
How fun would it be if the announcement actually came out Friday, October the 13th, and really, really screwed the short edge funds?
I mean, it can, because if you consider
Black
that their
Friday?
15 days ends on a Saturday, no one at the SEC is working on a Saturday, right? So I mean, they very well may Friday at close inform the company that they're not objecting, and then they can go ahead and start releasing these things on Edgar, right? Like just like they did on the 29th.
Friday after close?
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, Black Friday.
Oh, is it Friday the 13th? Yeah, you're right.
It's Friday the 13th, but Friday the 13th, 1989. Was it 1989? The market crash from, oh God, who was it? Was it was an airline that had things kind of blow up, and they called it Black Friday. It was Friday the 13th.
Nice.
And so, I mean, it would be cool. Yeah, that'd be a cool like little thing to go along with our story. But I would predict Sunday. That's how I would do it. Have all the announcements come out Sunday, merger Monday. Let's go.
Yeah, and obviously anyone and everyone involved with an actual distribution is going to know about it before. It's not like we're suggesting that everyone finds out Sunday night and by Monday morning they have to have it all figured out. The certificate of merger has obviously already been filed, if there is one. All of these things are already well known since at least October 2nd, because that's when the OCC decided to say that October 20th was the acceleration date. And again, for them to decide that, obviously that means they're expecting that Monday or Tuesday of that week there would be a distribution. So since October 2nd, at least, whoever is in charge of, managing that has known what's going on. And yeah, we're just hanging around to find out. I agree with you. I think Sunday night is a pretty reasonable timeline. And then by Monday or Tuesday, everything's kind of in everyone's accounts and we know where we're at.
The question on the table is, and gotta ask it, I know I don't like to get too antsy, or are we going tokenized? Are we going blockchain? I think that's a question that needs to be asked, and I don't see a way that we can answer it. There's tidbits here and there, and I want to say that there's enough language that I think it's possible. And if it is, if we if we go back to a normal liquid market, centralized exchange like we're in right now, we still have a very good opportunity to have this thing squeezed. If we go decentralized, blockchain, tokenized, anything, times 10.
I think
Yeah,
it's highly
I don't know
likely.
enough about it. I wish we had Citizen here because he's a blockchain expert. I don't know.
I think it's highly likely for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, is Overstock owning BSTX through T0. I also think with the 1145 rule that I brought up the other day, they have a limited exemption from the SEC rule. I'll have to find the exact rule. But during the Chapter 11, they actually have a loophole which allows them to get securities issued without informing the SEC. So we've got two reasons there. And thirdly, the preceding fraud leading up to the case. I think we can see three legal teams that have been assigned. One was an ad hoc Vice lawyer. I forgot his name. The other one is Michael Goldberg. And we've seen Shelley Lombard bring on Nick Lewin, who is also a fraud expert, RICO expert, Ponzi scheme securities. If we look at all of the votes that were probably gathered from the reverse split, I'm sure they outweighed the amount of shares issued at the time. We look at the DTCC numbers of shares, 60 million over at the time. We look at the high volume in January, 90 days on reg show. I think there's three highly probable preceding indicators to show we need to leave the exchange. We have the evidence and we have the platform and the precedents.
I agree.
And there's some
I agree.
And there's some big players involved. Like one is like the third highest person at ICE, which is from that does the New York Stock Exchange. They moved to T0, and so that, and like I've been following back the history of Overstock and then them moving towards T0, and they've been in this fight for apparently a very long time, like since the early 2000s. So that, and they've also been eyeing the market. I heard, like, I watched an interview where they were talking about this is a while back where they were talking about the home goods space and who all was in there and who was going to survive versus, Wayfair versus At Home versus Amazon and Target. So I think that they've been, having, like, setting this up for a long time. So it seems very likely that they would make it work.
Yeah. And I would say that even if the blockchain idea, didn't come to fruition, I don't think anybody should be worried that there wouldn't be a squeeze. I mean, because on centralized markets, there's been plenty of short squeezes, right? Like, there's Tesla, there's VW, there's a bunch, so it's not like it can't happen if it goes back to the NASDAQ. Blockchain would be amazing, but you can also consider the idea the same way that Overstock did it, right? Where they were on a centralized exchange with an NFT, non-copyable dividend, right? So you can maybe attach something to each share, and then you would force everyone that has a short position to have to go to the market and purchase that to provide that dividend, right? So, there's lots of ways it can play out. Obviously, having the close contact with Overstock now, they're obviously very, arm's length from BSTX and T0 and all those protocols. I really hope to see a blockchain component. That'd be fantastic in terms of, synthetics and just printing fakes and not having to worry about that. That would be incredible. I mean, that would lead to some real startling price discovery. But either way, I think I'm not really concerned. As long as equity survives, there will be a tremendous short squeeze because I think this is overshorted to hell. I think people are in untenable short positions. I think that's pretty prevalent by how they're communicating online. If you have like the virtue guy, like constantly like having emotional episodes on the internet, it's very embarrassing for him. But I think there's a lot of panic on the other side, and I think that's very telling of what we can expect in the future. Even if we're on a centralized exchange, I expect a significant squeeze, and I'm here for it.
Well, I think the food for thought to give is that because of these new companies, DK Butterfly, that have been set up, I'm viewing them as kind of an escrow or a holding company in order to do this transfer of equity, right? So in a sense, because it's a new company, DK Butterfly and Bed Bath & Beyond, so to speak, is being delisted and non-existent, so to speak, there has to be something called a share recall. That recall alone is going to force a short squeeze. And thereafter, once that's paid off and everybody's paid up to date, that's where I view the decentralization as the best way to go. So therefore, you're never short attacked again. They start kicking the can in a new episode, so to speak.
How do you recall shares How do you recall shares that can't be traded right now? I mean, you can't. That's just it. I mean, the whole meme of, oh, I'm not locked in here with you with y'all. Y'all are locked in here with me. Like, they're locked in here with us. They are locked in. Shares have been canceled. They can't be traded. We're getting delisted, and we're going to be something else because of some merger acquisition that we still can't figure out completely. But I mean, the cards are on the table, and we can read between the lines. Like, this is happening, and how do they close? They can't.
I thought that the ABC meant the share recall being like a pseudo share recall by the equity redistribution, right? So in
Yeah, I
order
mean,
to
it
have
won't
the
be Bed
new
Bath
equity
and
come
Beyond
out, you
shares.
have to provide a fixed ratio, right? So that in and of itself does a kind of sort of share recall, right? Or is that not what you meant?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is because what happened with DK Butterfly, if you look at these subsidiary companies or all these holding companies that were set up, there's 38 of them. They actually mirror exactly the incorporation and subsidiary structure of what Bed Bath & Beyond was, right down to the incorporation date, right down to the amount of shares that were initially offered when Bed Bath & Beyond opened up their doors, so to speak. And so everything is a direct representation of that company, a mirror image, so to speak, but a new entity with a new aim. And so under the bankruptcy, under restructuring, all they're doing is they sold off some assets. In my opinion, they're being held as placeholders. You open up this second dummy corporation, so to speak, like a butterfly transaction. You do a share recall. Although they're not Bed Bath & Beyond, they're still legally this new company because this new company is the old company. You're just cleaning sheet. Do the recall, so to speak, and it's a pseudo. It's not, actually Bed Bath & Beyond because it's being delisted, but because you're fitting under the Knoll, you're caring for the Knolls, you're still going to carry forward business. In a sense, it is the same company. Therefore, you do a recall, you do the distribution, and everything goes from that point onwards. That's my theory. Again, I could very well be wrong.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So my argument to that was there was a couple articles put out, and I know mainstream media, I don't trust them, but they had said something about, retail has bought up $800 million of Bed Bath & Beyond since it went into bankruptcy or something like that. I don't remember the exact amount, but I did the math because of the price of the stock, and I realized, well, that's 1 billion shares plus. So how do you do a share recall when retail owns $1 billion? How do you what do you recall? What I mean, what they're literally locked in here with us, and I don't think you can do a share recall. A share recall is when things are trading on the open market, and you can go to somebody and be like, "Hey, I lent out these shares to you. You got to give them back to me because I owe it to this person, this particular individual in this account, and I got to make sure that they're made whole." Like, how do you do that in this instance? Yeah,
You
you
send
can't.
instruction letters to every brokerage out there, and you say, guess what? We're giving a nice, $25 equity, so to speak, or a cash settlement on this stock here. I guarantee every goddamn lender of shares out there will be tapping their clients and say, I want your shares back, please, because I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. There's so many ways to go about it. But again, I'm not too well versed on how the structure of the process would go. But to me, it makes sense if they're kind of mirroring what Bed Bath & Beyond was, creating this new entity, and they're about to give some type of equity in the future very shortly. There has to be a mechanism in order to do that. I mean, you witnessed after RC's standstill agreement came to an end on March 17th, they literally had a reverse split call on March 24th saying, hey, we're going to do an RS split. I personally think that was FUD in the sense that they just wanted to get an idea of how many shares are out there, what's in the marketplace, and so on. Again, in this situation, the judge asked Seed & Co., please deliver me exact share count that you have. I think there is manipulation, and that's why I do believe this decentralized play is really where they want to go, because in my theory, if you can't beat the system, create a damn new system and a better one, so to speak. So I almost see a move by forcing the shorts to close, paying up what's due, and then heading off on your own, so to speak, with a bunch of other companies that are in a similar position and creating an Amazon platform. But again, I don't want to derail the conversation from that.
No. And my question to that is, even if, all right, let's say I'm a short seller and somebody comes to me and be like, hey, I need those shares back because, I need to give them to, I need to recall all those shares. Cool. I've short sold them. I borrowed them and sold them. That means I need to go out into the market and rebuy them to give them back. That part can't be done. It can't be done right now. And that's why I'm saying if we go blockchain, if we go tokenized, if we go anything DEX right now, and let's remember, RC said it and made a post about it, sex is for dummies. If we go DEX, I mean, whatever your price point was times 10. Times 10, that's it. Now, if we don't go blockchain, if we go back on a normal exchange, fine. There can still be a short squeeze because an entity is going to take over an entity that has all these NOLs that they're going to start reoperating their business potentially, and be able to obtain those NOLs and use those as tax benefits where their profits for the next 10 years are tax-free. They're tax-free.
But let me
And that's
ask
just going
you.
to put more money in the company's pocket, however this is done. It's going to be
Share recall
beautiful.
being, I mean, from the new company side of things, where they basically say all shares are being recalled so that we can issue new equity. Same being, if we do go to a decentralized exchange, you still have to have a knowing of who owns what shares so that when you issue the new equity. So I think that it still has to be done that way, Trav, because how else are you going to allocate the new equity to the new shareholders, whether it be the bondholders or whoever else is entitled to this equity? You have to have an understanding of who owns what. And so
You're right.
if you
And I
have
think
that understanding of who owns what, in a sense, by creating the new company and keeping it along the same business line and same entity and same, continued growth, so to speak, you have the right to do a share recall. And that's why you create new companies, to force a close by the shorts, because you're going to issue that equity. So I do believe they have the mechanism to do it. Again, I could be wrong, but I see how that's the play would unfold is, we've got a new company. It's the same as what Bed Bath & Beyond was. We followed all the NOLs. We followed all the regulations. In a sense, we're just renaming our company. However, we're leaving the marketplace. But before we do, we're doing a share recall. Shorts pay up. All the institutions, brokerages call them in, pay up time, and then we move. I don't know.
Well,
How
let
can
me
anybody move or trade?
Let me propose it like this. So for simplicity's sake, and tell me if I'm wrong. For simplicity's sake, let's say one Bed Bath share becomes one dildo share. Okay.
Hey.
And let's say that shorts are short a lot of dildos, and you have to understand that every short sale has a counterparty. Right. So it's not like there's anybody that's just going to let them off the hook and say, hey, you don't have to close these. Right. So the counterparty is going to say, hey, I want my dildos back. But now we know that there's a distribution of 1-to-1. Right. So those short positions get carried over, just like everyone else has a placeholder right now in their brokerage. Every short has a placeholder right now in their brokerage. And it's irrelevant that the securities are untradeable now, because they will be exchanged for an equivalency with the distribution of a new equity. So when you have that new equity, let's say it's 1-for-1, you're now short that equity, right? So the squeeze occurs on the new equity. It's not that you have to close the position of the old. The position will be transferred, just like I have a placeholder right now in every one of my brokerages for all my shares, right? Let's say I have 5 shares. Those 5 shares are not going to be Bed Bath shares for the squeeze. They're going to become dildo shares, right? And so
Sorry,
I hate you. So now, if they become the shares of the new entity, that's what you're short. And so the squeeze occurs on that side of the trade, because your counterparty isn't just going to forgive you for your short position, right? Because the buck goes up the chain as far as it goes, right? So your counterparty will force you to close your short. You're just transacting in the new position now, right? So if it's a 1-for-1 or a 1-for-5, whatever, your short position will be adjusted just like every long position in their brokerage right now will be adjusted. And so those obligations are just converted, right? So that's how I think that would happen, but I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's how I see it too. I honestly think you're going to get, pay up time and then a move to decentralization. Otherwise, if you continue that narrative, sure, the shorts can pay up, But as soon as we get back onto the OTC or back onto the NASDAQ, the same game continues.
Exactly.
And think about GameStop here, or think about IEP. GameStop's at a 52-week low right now, yet they just had a financial reporting where they have over $1 billion in cash. The value's not there. The true price index is not showing on these stocks. And so the only thing you can really do is go into bankruptcy, protect everything, sell off some assets in a placeholder format, open up a brand new company, so to speak, like a butterfly transaction, close the equity, issue new equity, but because you're same business, so to speak, just a different name, you do a share recall and you force these shorts to close. They pay up. You now have abundance of cash to do and grow a platform that you would do, and you go into decentralized, which is the transparent way, which is going to make all your retail shoulders absolutely blessed to be a part of the thing, because there's going to be absolutely no more synthetic and nakes attacking and destroying the true value of your stock, so to speak.
I don't even know if you need the share recall element. If you think, let's think about this a little bit. So let's say these new obligations come out as the new company, right? And let's say, going under Travis's math of those $800 million in shares purchased. So let's say the float, or the amount owned by retail is $1 billion, right? So now everything synthetic has to be closed before a single real short can be closed. But if you have so many shares oversold and so many people that aren't selling, it's just going to present more and more price discovery. And this is why I believe that the blockchain is not the only avenue to make sure that you have these stratospheric prices. I think the short interest and the fact that the retail owns so many of the real positions is what really locks the shorts in, because at the end of the day, they can't close a single real position until someone sells a real share. So, obviously there will be price points that people exit at and provide those shares, but the price discovery will go up and up and up and up until people begin actually doing that. And then the other thing contributing to the volcanic price discovery are going to be these synthetic positions. If you are overshorted like 5 synthetics for every one real share, and you have to close 6 positions to close one short position, it's going to be astronomical, no matter whether it's on the blockchain or not. And I think the movement of the obligation to the new security, I think it's like a placeholder for shorts, just like it is for longs. And I think that this will be transferred into whatever, wherever it goes, it'll be maintained. The short positions will be maintained, and I do think they are oversold and they're naked short. And I think there's going to be a lot of I don't think people are going to be giving up shares very easily. I think a lot of people realize the position that is here. And so I do think that there will be a lot of stratospheric price discovery before people start giving things up. And I think, yeah, whether it's blockchain or not, I think it'll be fine. Share recall or not, these obligations will have to be fulfilled, because in order for the counterparties, which is the brokers, to give the retail shareholders the distribution into their accounts, they have to collect those shares from the folks that they've sold it short to. But the people with the short positions took those shares and they sold them back on the market. They don't have those shares, right? So you have this daisy chain effect where, person 1 has to go to person 2, has to go to person 3, and you have to backtrack every link in the chain to fulfill this share delivery until you get to the original long in the brokerage that unwittingly was contributing their shares to a short lending program that they didn't even know about. And I think that's just going to create an absolute hurricane of price discovery.
It's going to be an absolute foot race. Literally the shorts are going to be racing to cover each other, simply because this price will show the true value incrementally, but very, very fast. And that's where the volatility is going to come in.
Yeah.
And, if somebody is holding 311 million shares, whether it be RC or somebody else that we speculate, they're along for the ride too, because they surpass the opportunity to sell those 311 million at a 15%, return. That was done for a reason. And again, I'm excited to see what's coming around the corner.
And we get a glimpse of that looking at the Sears today, right? So if it goes up, Sears went up 1,000,000%, right? Well, if we get new equity, that means
198 million.
198 million percent.
198 million%. So if we get new equity, that means that, kind of like when there's a reverse split, your call options, your limit orders, all that, or all your limit orders, get deleted, right? So that means that as soon as we get our new equity, no one will have a limit order even set. And by the time anyone even tries to sell, there wouldn't be anything to sell, and all these people trying to buy it. So it would have kind of a similar, it would just gap up like kind of immediately.
You know what? Good. No, I mean, not to option holders. I mean, if you're holding options and you're hoping for those to go, I'm not against you at all. But you got to close real shares. And if we go blockchain, and I'm hoping that we do, because if we do, we're not talking about a short squeeze. We're talking about generational wealth transfer, the biggest thing you'll ever see in the history of mankind. And I mean this, like that's where this could go. I'm sorry, option holders, but I hope you have shares too. But good gosh, this thing could go way beyond any bit of everyone's imagination. Because, I mean, let's say they have 1 billion shorts to close, and the float, which we know the float, HBC holds 311. Actually, I think it's more because they had some more warrants converted or more preferred shares converted, like 50 million more. The float is somewhere between 335 million and 482 million. We know that. If there's 1 billion shorts, they have to buy every share 2 times over. And I might sell a few here and there at a reasonable price, but then I'm holding on to the rest for a very, very unreasonable price, because this is one chance, one shot, and I'm not going to miss mine. I mean, I want them to pay me for every hour that I've spent on the show, every hour that I've spent researching, every hour that Jake has. Jake, I'm collecting for you. Don't worry about it, man. I got you. I want this to be I want this to be it. I really do. I really think that we have developed this community because we believed in something and we found something. We found a hidden gem, and it's worth way more than we ever expected it to be. And I really can't foresee, if we go decentralized, that's where it's going.
And like I was researching about Melvin Capital, right? Like I think it was Citadel gave them like $3 billion when so that they could have their margin, but they also then turned off the buy button to stop it. You're shaking your head no, or is that to the chat?
Citadel gave them $3 billion to control their trades. It was a very unique situation. But I don't want to cut you off. By all means, go ahead.
But either way, what I was just saying is that one, if they can't turn off the buy button, but they'll get, once they do get margin call, they'll get automatically liquidated. So I mean, it's just like, and when they get automatically liquidated, they're going to have to then buy all those shares suddenly, and no one's going to be selling them, because no one will even have the chance to even like. Even if you're watching it, it's just like, it would be going up too fast to even know what number to plug in,
Well, I got a quick donation to read out here. Controlled Chaos. Can you guys break down the current shares and how that translates into the 901 million new shares?
That's me. So, Controlled Chaos, if go check some of my Reddit history. It's the David Kasten puzzle has been solved. I didn't post a final screenshot. I tell you what I'll do. I'll go back to that old post and I'll post the final screenshot. So Famous Variety and I spent an afternoon digging through this and trying to figure it out. And we were able to do it mathematically, where because of the share price and because of the conversion rate, we were able to determine exactly how many shares were converted to common stock. Now, is that part of the float? We want to say yes, but there's also part of the HBC deal that was also held in abeyance by HBC. But because of the conversion rate, whether or not these were converted and made part of the float, if they were made part of the float, that range is 335 million to 482 million. Mathematically, there's no other way. Now, if they weren't issued as part of the float and these were closely held, which I don't believe is the case because of the 50% rule with the NOLs, then they could be closely held and not part of the float, even making the float smaller. However, because of the NOLs and the 50% rule and everything else, we believe that these were converted. They were made part of the float. The float's somewhere between 335 million and 482 million. But I do have a post on Reddit. It says the David Kasten puzzle has been solved. It was about, I want to say about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. But I'll go add the final calculations between the minimum and maximum to the bottom of that, and I'll do it here shortly. But yes, it was mathematically solved because of the share price during the time range which they converted.
Well, let me add to that.
Yeah.
So, if you subscribe to the theory that Ryan Cohen may be behind the common stock position at Hudson Bay, upon exiting bankruptcy, you cannot have another change of control for 2 years. So, if, however, they've worked out this this ownership, if that common stock position is part of his ownership into this company, he can't sell those shares because they lose the NOL. So he cannot go under a threshold that would change the ownership structure in that position, if that's how they divvy up the ownership, right? But however they do it, you cannot have another change of control for 2 years following the emergence of bankruptcy because you will lose the NOL. And so obviously with how much work has happened to maintain this NOL and having an NOL strategic committee and an NOL group and all this other things we've seen in the fee statements, combine that with the fact that Sixth Street in their own website has noted that their investment window is 2 to 6 years, which is in parallel with the minimum requirement for the ownership to make sure that you're not tinkering with your NOL opportunity. I don't think Sixth Street is going anywhere for 2 years, and I would suspect that if Ryan Cohen is behind Hudson Bay to get his stake in the ownership, I also believe that he will be locked into that position for 2 years just to be able to preserve the NOL. So that further lowers the float, right?
Yeah. To add to that, Jake, we saw a pay down of the Sixth Street dip financing right at the end as we're about to exit here, an additional $70 million. And that was kind of a concern. It's like, why are they actually paying it down further if there's going to be a credit bid? Which kind of makes sense to the fact that you want to make sure that your equity portion, if it's a debt for equity transaction, that you don't have too much of a credit bid because you're going to have to take that value in equity. And if it's more than the 50%, you're going to screw your nulls. So again, this is all kind of a financial chess game and making sure that your position ends up being at the 50% mark to keep everything intact. And that's why we saw a $70 million pay down of that dip financing when the only thing left is really a credit bid. So that kind of gives confirmation too that there will be an equity disbursement of some sort, and they are monding that 50% threshold.
Yeah, that'd be a very plausible explanation for that pay down. It's because they would have been over the 50% ownership structure and they had to modify it for whatever, credit bid, debt to equity conversion that they perform to maintain that structure. But whoever ends up as the owner of this on the other end when it comes out is not moving on that position for a minimum of 2 years because they are limited by the NOL law. They have to hold that position for 2 years, otherwise they lose the NOL benefit. So however we see it come out owned, it will be like that for a while.
And the other aspect with the DK Butterfly holdings, before obviously Bed Bath & Beyond was registered in New York. And there's actually a covenant or legalese saying that you can't have more than 20% stake in the state of New York. So with this new entity that they created, DK Butterflies, they moved the majority of the subsidiaries into Delaware. And that avoids that New York state law that they were kind of under with New York, which eliminated again that nulls. So by moving it to Delaware, you created three things. You created avoiding that stipulation of New York law and a maximum of 20% ownership. You also avoid voting rights, so therefore you can have a change of control. And because of Rule 147, the safe harbor law, which Bed Bath & Beyond was originally set up in, although its head office was in New York, that was the catch-22. They couldn't really preserve the nulls because of the maximum 20%. So by restructuring and moving everything to Delaware, you get change of control, you avoid voting rights, you fall under the safe harbor law, which also avoids any SEC interference as well.
So just regarding
That's amazing.
Just regarding the Project Butterfly stuff at the beginning, Travis, could you give us a quick TLDR for the listeners who may have forgotten what Lazard's role is and what their purpose is in the case?
On what?
For Lazard's role and purpose during the Chapter 11.
So they are a broker dealer who is overseeing the financial transactions, any type of financing, any type of deals that are made regarding distributions of money to the company or outside of the company, or any type of financial transaction. They get a fee or a percentage of a variety of different things. Whether it's the dip financing, they got paid for some of the dip financing. They got paid like 4 million as a percentage of that. Any type of financial transaction, merger, acquisition, sell off of Bye Bye Baby, they would have gotten a percentage of the total deal for that. But they are really the company, the entity that is overseeing these to ensure that all the legalities are done properly, and they get a fee and a percentage of the total amount of the transaction for doing this.
Yeah, so it's their interest and their purpose to help find a buyer for the company, and it's no coincidence, that they've spent months looking for a buyer. They titled the Project Butterfly WG at the beginning of the chapter 11 on the first day, and now here we are at the end. The plan is done, and lo and behold, the company's renamed to DK Butterfly. So it looks to me like Lazard have completed their job. They've done their purpose. They've achieved their task. And also, what have we not seen yet? Lazard's legal fees. We've seen Alex Partners, we've seen Kirkland Ellis, we've seen Alvarez and Marshall, we've seen everyone else. Why not Lazard's?
Good point.
I
Because
think
they're
that-
hiding it from me.
Yeah, they're hiding from you, Travis, but ultimately it's not necessary, because in a sense, if you do file that with all your description as to your billings, that would give the shorts an idea or a little bit closer understanding of what's going on in the background. I think you save that file for afterwards. You make your merger announcement, you hand off new equity, you force the shorts to close, and then drop documents like that. It's not a necessity at this point in time.
Well, another simple thing for people to consider is just go to buybuybaby.com. What does it say? It says coming fall 2023. Now look at it logically. As a business, you've missed a whole month of revenue. Right when children are returning to school, why the fuck would you do that unless the ownership hasn't completed the changeover? Because as I said, Overstock, they started using the brand within 14 hours of the transaction completing. Dream on Me still haven't started using it. And that's clear as day to see that the deal is not complete in the public platform right now. Why is the website not trading? They're still on their way. It's so clear. Shills would not be able to answer that. Why would Dream on Me sit around for a month missing valuable revenue on a deal that they've just paid a whole year's revenue to complete? Makes no sense.
Well, what was the date for, because Overstock's IP deal was a little bit more structured in terms of it was a done deal, so to speak, and there was no kind of recalling that IP exercise. Whereas Dream on Me's was a little bit looser in the sense that it had an end date that at some point they could pull back the transaction for whatever reason. Maybe emerging out of bankruptcy, maybe creating a new company. There's so many different possible permutations that they could recall that IP from Dream on Me. And if I stand correct, that date was September 30th, a day after we received the filing on the 29th. So imagine sitting in a boardroom after you filed on the 29th, calling up Dream on Me and saying, "Oh, bad news, guys." Although I imagine they would have an understanding of what's going on. Guess what? We would like our IP back. And that's why you've seen potentially no website promotion or any engagement in a public point of view. But we're so close to the 18th, so to speak, that I'm sure we'll get a very clear indication of what is going on with Dream on Me, its IP, and who really do own the assets.
Yeah, and a few weeks ago, me and Jake spent a lot of the day looking back into the IP deals, and it looked highly likely it's a shared service agreement, at least the Bye Bye Baby side of it was, because of the difference in the overstock and the exclusion of the trademarks. So it looks highly likely to me some sort of deal has been made for Baby, and they'll be using that to access the nulls and keep the business continuity enterprise requirements met and access, this $1.5 to $2.5 billion of nulls.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. But just guys, sorry, before we keep diving into it, I do have to go. I got to get a couple things done here off screen, if you don't mind. But
Give
I
us some
think we
closing
got it
thoughts.
pretty figured out. I think it's pretty clear. I think the pathway is pretty obvious. I would invite everybody to read Bankruptcy Rule 1145, which summarizes the company's ability to offer securities coming out of Chapter 11 without SEC reporting. For anybody that tells you that you would have seen a security filing or an SEC filing for new securities if you were going to get it, explore 1145. It's clear as day that when you're coming out of Chapter 11, you have an exemption to report until you're ready to basically do your distribution. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for the timeline between the 13th and the 20th. Obviously, something and everything will occur between then, at least for discovering what the pathway will be and what the distribution will be. And then, yeah, like I was told by my own banks and brokerages, that once the layout and the instructions come from the company, it's only like a 1 or 2 day thing, and then it's back on the market wherever it's going to go. I'm pretty excited. I think it's the end of the road now. I think it's a pretty clear pathway that they have to do the emergence. I think everything makes sense. I think everything that's happened thus far is in alignment with an outcome that would have them emerging with new equity. I think they would want to have the NOL access. I'm excited. So.
Well, I appreciate you, brother, for hopping on tonight. And, you're just invaluable to the community, my man. You're such a well-spoken scholar and gentleman that, I appreciate you hopping on and saving me because PP's not here. So I'm sure we'll hook up in spaces later on and carry forth the discussion. But if everybody can show Jake some love for taking the time to dip his nose into the filings and dig deep for us all. I know you're much loved in the community, my man. So show some love, chat, please.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate.
Thank you for having me. I'm sure I'll see you guys. I'm sure I'll be back for another episode whenever we're doing it. But if you have any questions, just shoot me a message or comment on a post on the PP sub, and we'll chat out anything you guys want to talk about. So have a great night, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jakey. So I'm going to let everybody know I'm going to welcome on a special guest just as Jake has left us here. Sal, I appreciate you messaging this fine gentleman to get him here. So if I could ask chat to give a warm welcome to Mr. OK Ben.
Hey everybody, what's going on?
Hey brother, how are you?
Good, doing well.
Good.
I heard you guys were talking about blockchain. I've been summoned.
Yeah, we'd love to have you just kind of, give us a brain fart of everything you have on what's going on with the digital chain and what the potential might be for this. I know we were talking earlier about, possibly moving back to the market, but there's a strong possibility that this will be decentralized. So we'd love to get your thoughts on it. Okay.
Sure. First of all, happy Canadian Thanksgiving to you, ABC. And I think Jake just left, right? All right. Well,
Yeah.
happy Thanksgiving to him as well. And then thank you, Sal and Michael, for the links. I appreciate you.
The chat is going crazy for you right now. They're loving the return of the bet, looking like Robert Downey Jr.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you. I'm alive. Just hanging out. Haven't sold a single share. I'm with you guys. So
Not that you can, right? Okay.
Well, yeah, you're right. We're kind of stuck. Okay, guys. I mean, you're in this with me. Okay.
Hey, Bets, before you start, could we see Panda? Because I hear Panda all the time and I never get to see her.
Panda is currently asleep.
I knew it. I knew there's no Panda. I knew it's you.
It was me the whole time, actually. I was just meowing intermittently throughout chat. Okay, so let's get started. So I do want to agree with Travis that the formal recall would be very difficult to do. You'd have to basically contact all the lenders have to be willing to give out the shares because the rights belong to the lenders technically, like legally. I will look more into the rules regarding this. Recalls are tough, are really tough to initiate. Of course, this is a very special transaction, so we really never know what can happen. But what I would like for you guys to appreciate is this exchange cannot touch the DTC. So the new shares that are issued can't really interface with the DTC. They have to go on chain directly. There are currently currently the BSTX is the only regulated SEC approved crypto exchange. This is operated in tandem with a company called Box Exchange, which I actually did call maybe a month or so ago. They're still operating, so they're still functional. It's just kind of nobody's really using them right now. As well as T0. T0 is still functional. I would urge you guys to Google their recent patents. They have filed several of them. This has to do with processing of bonds as well as options. And so I think they're really getting ready and they're gearing up to onboard an onslaught of companies. It doesn't just have to be Teddy, but anything that's associated with, even in tandem. So I am, ever bullish on a blockchain exchange, specifically the ERC 1155 protocol that Loopring has pushed. If there's any association with Loopring and T0, we're going for gold. They will not be able to close, especially if there are multiple companies involved. Mainly because, they're 1,000% plus shorted. How are you going to close? You're going to have to buy each share back multiple times up until the float value. They're not going to be able to do that if we have a finite number of shares. Additionally, a lot of these people will, additionally, many of these people will end up essentially not being able to close, mainly because there's so many shorts, present. You can't close. There are a finite number of shares. So, in our central markets, unfortunately, we don't really have a finite number of shares. It's infinite, right? Because of market making and naked shorting and just the total infinite liquidity. So in my mind, we have to have some sort of decentralized interface present. I wouldn't worry so much about whether or not T0 is approved in Canada. You'll be okay. We'll be good to go. They're going to factor in, essentially there's 70 plus countries involved with this trade, guys. Right? There are 400,000 plus holders of Bed Bath & Beyond from what we have seen through documentation. So it's a global trade. It has to be all taken care of. And so hopefully they're engaging in strategic partnerships. And I do think that in order for this sort of infinite squeeze that we continue to talk about, which of course I want, you want, everybody wants, it has to be on a decentralized exchange. A central process will just not work. I'm telling you, they're going to keep shorting it. We will get a squeeze, not a problem, but the main squeeze will be on a decentralized exchange. The reason I kept mentioning a tandem squeeze is mainly because if GameStop is involved, for example, I don't think GME can go fully digital. That would require a bunch of things to happen. You'd have to have a share recall. You'd have to have something called a cert pull or certificate pull. It's very difficult to do. But I do believe that in 5 to 10 years, the DTCC will no longer exist. So that's my next bullish prediction.
Don't. All right. You know what? No. You know what? Keep going. I'm almost there.
I heard you had a trampoline injury. Are you okay?
I did. So yeah, I have a trampoline
I'm
with
embarrassed for you.
eight security, or it has a security net around it. It has 8 metal bars. 4 of them had bent or broke. And I'm going to try to make this quick because it really is a long story about how this happened.
Oh my God.
I replaced 4 of them, got them up and going. I even posted a picture on Twitter, and if you look close, you can still see metal bars on the ground. I later went to clean up those metal bars, take them to the trash. I had them grasped because you can't really hold like 8 of them together. So I had them grasped like this, and I went to take a step. One slid out, caught something, and I kind of lunged forward as I was falling. And in my infinite wisdom, in the split second, I thought, oh, I don't want to fall on metal bars right across my chest, so put my head forward. I had on one of my snapbacks backwards, so the snapback scraped my face right here, just right down, and that's how I got the scrapes on my face, and that's my story of how I'm clumsy.
You got to use that duct tape that you keep using on the PPSHOW. That's what I've been hearing. You've been taping yourself a lot. What's going on?
I try not to spoil Jake's ending,
Right. I keep spoiling his ending on Spaces, apparently. Oops. So I think you and I are on the same team at this point. So anyway, that's my spiel on blockchain. I definitely do think it's involved. They kind of have to be. I think that several companies will be tied with Teddy. This could very well be that any company that's affiliated or even has kind of hype tweeted and has an NFT trademark. So it's Blockbuster, Chewy, maybe even Party City. These type of, probably Lego, although Lego's private. These can very well likely be involved with Teddy as well. And so imagine if you have thousands of percentage points of naked shorting. You can't close. How the hell are you going to close if you have a finite number of shares and you have degenerates like me and Travis and Michael and ABC, Salvatore? We're going to hold. That's it. We're going for gold. That's about it. That's the spiel, guys.
So a lot of
we
people
can talk
ask
about
about
technicalities as well if you'd like. But that's
a lot of people ask about the on-ramp to that.
Sure.
So let's say that they announce, hey, we're going to blockchain, we're going to be BSTX. Then what happens?
So it'll be probably very similar to how Overstock issued they called them representative shares. You can read the actual the S filing. I think it was an S1, where they issued a kind of it was like a quasi dividend. They didn't do a good job doing it, but it was a good start. And so far, if you speak with Overstock investors, they had a very easy time onboarding. It was very simple. It was a simple KYC AML. So KYC stands for Know Your Customer. AML stands for Anti-Money Laundering. It's like a username email. You don't have to memorize a wallet. You don't have to save a seed phrase. It's very, very simple. They have to keep it as simple as possible, mainly because of regulations. The second thing is people are not going to remember a seed phrase, right? If any of you have ever played with cryptocurrency, if you lose your seed, if you lose your keys, you're done. There's no like, oh, I forgot my email or I forgot my password and I can like, try to get it back from Gmail. This shit doesn't exist. There are social recovery wallets available. Of course, Loopring has developed one, but they aren't completely robust. People still mess that up. And so you have to have a standard username, password. There will be that front end portion from T0 will likely be centralized. That's not going to be a problem. But I do predict that Loopring will integrate
so you
in
log
some
in,
fashion with Box
let's
Exchange.
say you have Fidelity. Let's say you actually have two exchanges, right? Maybe you have some on something else. So then you go in and you transfer your shares from Fidelity to T0, or
I think everything will be handled on the back end. The brokers will be given instructions. I think initially there will be a period of havoc, as in like, what the heck do we actually do? But after that, it should be smooth sailing. It'll likely be associated with your SSN, so Social Security number, if you're in the United States, or your EIN, if you have a corporation. So my accounts are through corporations. And so everything that I touch is associated with my EINs. But it should be okay. At least I hope, otherwise I'm screwed, right?
So every broker is going to have all of our shares attached to our Social Security number or our EIN number.
By law, they already do. They already have it associated with several points of data, and so they use actually a metadata profile to figure out which shares are yours. Technically, although technically, do we really own any shares?
We'll find out.
That's
I
the
guess.
problem. Right? We're going to find out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're a firm believer, that really, in a sense, individual retail shareholders don't have to do anything. They'll just simply receive instructions, they'll receive kind of a wake up, and their shares will be so-called in a blockchain and part of this new entity, so to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct. Retail won't have to do anything. Just buy and hold, or well, I'm not advocating for anything. Although I think we kind of already bought. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a choice in this, guys. I don't know.
I'm already holding. I can't hold anymore.
Exactly.
I can't sell either.
Cohen said, I've only got two options for my shares, hold or hodl. So this is where we are.
Exactly. So I think the hodl portion that he was talking about in that tweet was, regarding, listen, we have a decentralized thing coming out. It doesn't have to be completely decentralized. I think BSTX also has some issues that need to be cleared up. They have something called limit up, limit down orders. They have market hours. This doesn't really smell like a fully decentralized exchange yet. But I think if Loopring is integrated, and they are coming out with a blog because they're apparently repositioning what they're about to do, we'll read the blog and then we can interpret it from there. But with Loopring, it's always been a nothing burger, and so I'm kind of waiting for them to come up with something. They have posted hints occasionally, and then they have to delete them like immediately. And that's from that guy Byron, I think is his name. So.
What about shares in a Roth or traditional IRA? Okay, bets.
You'll be okay because the BSTX can handle Roth and IRA accounts. Technically, every regulated exchange, I believe, needs the capability to handle retirement accounts in order for them to be approved. And so there's a 400-page rule book on BSTX. I went over it one day on Spaces, I believe, because I was bored. And there were some issues with that, but I think they will be cleared up with Loopring. I'm trying to be as unbiased as I possibly can. I don't want to give anybody, completely false hope. Just a tiny bit of hope. But That's about it. Yeah. So I think we're good to go. I think we're waiting. I think we will find out very soon. This has been in the making for years, I believe. I think Teddy has been in motion since 2018.
Yeah.
And we're about to reach the end, or the beginning of the end, or the beginning of the beginning. Whatever metaphor you want to use, just use that. It doesn't matter.
Is it possible to make a BSDX login right now just to set it up?
No, I don't know. Actually, you can try it.
Because I remember
try BSTX and try Box Exchange, BOX.
So the boxed one, I remember I went over it, I looked at it, I saw that there was some companies already on there.
Yeah.
And
they have corresponding shares on Fidelity, although they have no volume, mainly because these are kind of like okay companies. Nobody really wants to buy them. But with us, they will be forced to buy them. Like they don't have a choice. There's no cash equivalent. That's my whole problem with this NFT dividend stuff. With dividends, the brokerage will just give you a cash equivalent. With shares, it's very tough for them to do that. Legally, they really can't. But with dividends, they have a lot of wiggle room with that. That's the problem. And then say hello to Panda.
Hello, Panda.
Yeah, she's real. I'm telling you, she exists.
We just had Big Doug Doink donate $4.20, and he said, "Okay, Bets, my cat says hi."
My cat apparently says hi as well. Thank you, Doug Doink.
So, Bets, I wanted to ask your thoughts on this. So, I don't know if you guys have got the docket there. In one of the earlier dockets, Lazard had assigned a project name, Project Butterfly-WG, to this.
This is way back in April, I believe.
Yeah. So, obviously, I know you work in the legal field, and in a lot of cases, you assign certain code names to the cases. So, do you think that this is tied into the DK Butterfly stuff, that they've completed their kind of project, they found their buyer as they were turn around advisors to the debtors? Do you think that this is related?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and what do you think the WG may stand for? I think we've thought it may be working group. Do you think it might be any other acronym?
WG. So each company has its internal code of what they use. WG could be working group, but I'm not sure. We particularly, we don't use any of that, so I can't really say it confidently.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're on the same page. We think that Lazard has finished their transaction that they were looking to accomplish, and hence the naming of all of these entities. Lazard, through whichever buyer that they've managed to find, have had to rename all the subsidiaries while they're a placeholder for the parent company that's going to absorb all of these. So it looks great to me.
Okay, perfect.
We just donated $10 saying, "Thanks for coming on the show, okay, Bet. Any recommended reading on blockchain for the uninitiated? Thanks."
Yeah, that's it's easy. It's free. You can go to Ethereum Foundation and start reading. So just Google Ethereum Foundation, go to their official link. You can start reading their wiki. That'll give you a good overview of what it is. And look, I'm not completely blind and bullish on Ethereum. I think Ethereum has a lot of problems, but this is the best system that we have currently. And so I think maybe in another 10 years, it'll get a lot better. But remember, technology, science, everything in life, really, like everything in life is iterative, right? Even evolution's incredibly slow. It's taken millions of years. And so we're in it for the long run.
Well, would you think that Overstock being in the picture with, obviously they have part ownership of Best or Boxed, whatever.
55% ownership of T0, I believe, per the last earnings, but Sal can correct me on that.
Yeah, and I know Loopring worked with them back in 2018, 2017 for market manipulation as well. Then Overstock also won against the Supreme Court for doing this. So do you not find it kind of coincidental that they were the highest bidder for the IP?
I think this has been planned for at least a year, at the very minimum, in terms of this bankruptcy and conversations with Overstock. Absolutely. This has to be incredibly well orchestrated and surgically planned in order for this to work. I've been saying from the beginning, they have one shot to make this work, and they've got one choice. They have one shot. That's it.
Yeah, that exemption that you showed me the other day.
1145. Did you like that? That was pretty cool,
amazing. Right? Yes, it's a proper one-off, anomaly of an exemption. And if Ryan Cohen has been aware of that and he uses
that's a really cool exemption.
It's amazing, to completely bypass the SEC, and you have to be at a certain moment of the Chapter 11 to do it. If Ryan Cohen's planned it to that extent, it's amazing.
I know some regulators over there, they're going to get pissed. If they do this with a bypass, I was initially even skeptical. I thought, if they're going to file for this, and it was approved by the judge. So by the way, just a little spiel on 1145. I apologize if anybody's repeated this, but just to give you a little spiel, the 1145 section of the liquidating trust, that's a special approval. That's very bespoke language that they've used. This isn't every liquidating trust that is created with a bankruptcy. It has to be specially approved by the judge, and it was. The 1145 basically allows them to issue securities without notice to the SEC. So it's kind of incredible. I mean, we will get an official filing. I would assume that we'd need one. But in terms of the approval, it would be very easy for them to get, especially with this 1145 perspective. That was one of the most bullish things I've read in the entire plan. 1145. There was another regulation I was ranting about the other day on Twitter, but I don't remember anymore. It was something crazy though. It had to do with the transfer agent, of like why I figured they were talking to M3, and I think somebody had found something on ComputerShare as well. Remember they had like bonds or something.
BNY Mellon had all the bonds, but they also were the transfer agent.
Exactly. And so likely what happens is these shares are within a trust, because legally they have to actually be within a trust structure. This trust will be assigned to, oh no, I know what it is. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, I got you. I know exactly what I was talking about. Okay, give me 1 second. Luckily, I wrote this down. This is actually a very cool regulation. I think you guys will be excited. Okay. This is for listing requirements. Okay, so let's talk about like listing these shares now. Like, let's assume that there is a reissuance of equity. I would be shocked if there wasn't. It would be kind of stunning, to be honest, at this point. Remember, if the shares were getting canceled, like if the shares were getting completely deleted, they would have canceled them by now. It would have been done. And they're not. So we're kind of still in the running, right? We're in the race. Okay, a reverse merger company will not be subject to the requirements of Rule 26101E, and this is actually very standard with NASDAQ, with BSTX, so on. If it is listing in connection with the firm commitment underwriting public offering where the proceeds of the reverse merger company will be at least 40 million. We have that. So that means that they don't have a bunch of requirements that they have to keep. Meaning, there were a lot of requirements. One of them was like, you got to be on OTC for a year before you can list on another exchange, so on. None of that counts with us.
So if for the firm underwriting,
I like that. I thought that was entertaining. Anyway.
Yeah, like but hopefully what we get is equity. So how do they have an evaluation if what it is equity that we're getting that doesn't technically have a value right now?
Because if it's underwritten by Wells Fargo or BNY, they can value it above 40 million.
So would they put, like, how would they assign a value to the shares that they're going to give us?
They will come up with that through that bank. And so that's kind of how like all valuations work. They'll say, okay, well, how much do you want to value this company for? That's what the whole IPO funding round is. And so likely this has already been pre-negotiated. It's already pre-done. But the fact that it's from, a firm that's actually, a time-tested firm, if it's under either BNY with the bonds or maybe even Wells Fargo is somehow related, they could easily bypass this rule, which is great because that means we don't have to stay on OTC for like a year.
Is that why they were looking through in the dockets? It said that they spent time doing historical pricing. Like, are they using like that, or because I actually found out looking at job openings that they're actually opening up all the old Bed Bath & Beyonds in Sacramento, not just the Bye Bye Babies. And so I don't know if they're doing an evaluation based on how many stores and what a typical store would make. Or
valuations generally use many factors in terms of like how to actually value a particular company. Additionally, we don't know what is actually going to get spun off. Like, is Baby going to be one section versus Bed Bath? We don't really know. With these double dummy transactions, it can go either way.
Hey, Michael ABC, check the private chat real quick if you don't mind.
So Bets, I've just got a quick question. So what was bullish to me was the 8K that 2023-0930 filed was ticked under a large accelerated filer. And I think you have to have a public float exceeding 700 million to fit that requirement. So that means this new equity that's going to be issued, the float or the purchase is way over 700 million.
Well above. It's going to be well above 700 million. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, I'd assume it's over $1 billion just to satisfy all the debt and
Absolutely.
however the method of this credit debt was, this credit bid or whatever method they've used to acquire the company. So yeah, that's great. It's positive to see that they filed it using that. Do you think that there's any reason they might not have, they made a mistake or they filed it incorrectly?
No.
Yeah,
no mistakes.
No,
absolutely not. Large accelerated filer, that's a huge no. And then as Jake has described, in order to, deregister, delist, and then relist, there's a sequence of regulations that have to go through, and it has to be in a sequence. I think you guys might have talked about that, right? You have to have less than 300, what is it? What is it called? Travis, I think you can help me. Somebody can help me out with this. You have to have less than 300, not warrant holders. What the hell are they called?
300 registered holders.
Registered holders, there we go. And so they have that. They had 0. They even said none, I believe, in the filing. So it's like...
It said none.
Exactly. So we're good to go. I'm just kind of waiting. And, I think I'm getting a little impatient now. I think it's time to make the money and, get on with our lives.
Yeah, I fully agree. In terms of these S8s that were filed, so they filed a series of S8s, and obviously S8s are for director shares and insider kind of share issuance. Now, do you think they filed these S8s to get rid of the old director issuance of shares to provide the new ones in the future? Because we've seen on the court dockets they've been discussing restricted stock awards and reissuance of those shares.
It's possible, but I also think they got rid of the unsold securities, right, in one of the S8s, or was it a few of them? I have to reread them.
Yeah,
there was definitely one. I don't know if there was
Let me explain how bullish I was, okay? The moment the initial DK Butterfly thing came out, I immediately thought, okay, this is a shell company. And the moment that first filing came out, I had messaged Sal. I was like, what did I said, congratulations,
you said
buckle
congratulations,
the fuck up.
buckle up. And then
I was out
drinking
celebrating that evening. So that's how ready I am. I mean, I have really no doubt in my mind at this point. So
yeah,
really
and I think it's a matter of timeline now. And I agree. I think it's a shell company. You don't name a company that and then move on with it. Like you come out with a, ABC Co. Inc. or, it's something very simple. And so I agree from, my accounting background. I think this is designed to be shell, or not a shell, but multiple shell companies that I believe maybe a few will go one way and a few will go another.
As you know, the 12B2 rules, I believe, are for shell companies, and these qualify under 12B2 agreement with the SEC. And so I was talking about that one day. I don't know what I was doing. I think Sal, me, and then I think a gentleman named CN were doing some live DD, trying to figure out each one of the, where all these shell companies are glued to, attached to, which states. And so we had to look up each individual state. So that was kind of odd. But it was a lot of fun, and I kind of determined that this is easily a shell company.
Yeah, that was great. It was it was 4 a.m. for me, and I was planning to go to sleep, but we ended up holding a space.
Well, I mean, you're always awake at this point. You're kind of just waiting.
I'm running on Pacific time at this moment.
Absolutely.
So I've even started writing the dates in the wrong order, because in the UK we write the date and then the month. You guys write the other way around. I've been doing it wrong.
One of us. Google Gobble, one of us.
We started doing this live DD. It was 4 a.m. for me, and we had about 450 people just listening in. And ABC, you were there on the day. It was fucking great. Bets, someone in the chat said that you've got centuries of knowledge, and it's fucking the way that he was just, writing off and just quoting specific regulations and which state does this, that. It was insane to see. So yeah, it was one of my favorite moments.
Sal. I don't know.
Yeah, it was insane. And yeah, we found, I think, 18 out of the 38 that evening, and we tracked them down. So, it's good to go.
We found a bunch of them. Absolutely. So that's the spiel on blockchain, guys. I think, it has to have some sort of decentralized component in order for this to really squeeze. We go back on the central market, we will. I think actually, let me just repeat one thing. If GameStop is involved, part of the squeeze will be on a centralized market. I don't think that they can digitally list GameStop in that fashion. That would require a lot of weird things to happen.
What do you mean? Because couldn't they issue a token to their shareholders of some sort that
they could
have? some impact to this if they were involved? I don't
Absolutely, but the GME shares themselves have to remain on a central market. It's very tough. Once
Agreed.
you touch the DTC, you cannot escape. And so I know people keep quoting this S1 that GameStop posted, stating that they can, leave the DTC and things like that. It's very boilerplate, guys. I'm sorry.
Yep.
They also have a provision that allows them to oversell. So I don't know. I don't really buy it. I read it, I get it, I understand, but it is boilerplate. So
I think the absolute biggest fuck you to short sellers would be a dividend to GameStop holders, and we get the shares too, because they would be on the liability to obviously issue the dividend to whoever they've borrowed the shares from. And if it is a uncopyable, uncounterfeitable dividend, then they would be buying the fuck out of our stock. And also, they set precedent last year, and they issued a stock split via dividend. They use the GameStop NFT marketplace, so they have a valid use case of issuing it. And I think the company, I can't remember the last figures, but they're nearly free cash flow. They can give out a dividend, and they've got a load of cash on hand. So it's highly likely that it will be a dividend to GameStop holders.
Absolutely. I do think GameStop has to be involved. Otherwise that Superstock group is going to be kind of upset.
Yeah,
I still like the idea. Oh, I'm sorry, Salvatore. Go ahead.
Go for it.
I was going to say, I still like the idea of a double play. I would like to see these squeeze independently of each other. One win negates the other, and then you get a double play, and then it's, for anybody who's in the first one, it's astronomically even greater gains. But
how would it be a double play? So you'd want two separate sets of shares, or how would you do it?
No, let's say hypothetically GameStop's not involved, and DK Butterfly goes blockchain, it squeezes. A lot of people who are in this play are also GME holders. They're going to take those gains and put it back into GME. And if you buy through IEX, it actually hits the lit exchange. You can see the price start to increase until somebody gets margin called, and all you need is one, and then we're off to the races on the other. But by that time, somebody people, let's say people make millions on DK Butterfly, they take half of that and they throw it into GameStop. Well, I mean, you're talking about a double play here that can be astronomical. And then you got people with $500,000 worth of shares in GameStop that.
I wonder if GameStop will be acquiring something related to this trade. So they may acquire Overstock or do some sort of shared IP agreement. You never know. If that's
that was my guess.
If that's the case, they're likely going to be getting Teddy shares as well.
Yeah, that's how I see it. Okay, I see this kind of holding company like a Berkshire Hathaway, where you basically start off with a select few, you create the squeeze, then you bring in a Sears, for example, which has a strong short position in it. It also has about $6 billion worth of Knowles, so you invite that into the holding company, and it squeezes, and then you bring in all these players and companies that have been seller boxed into the ground. It's literally launch stacking, one after the other, and making the shorts pay back and retribution for everything they've done to all these companies that are sitting on the sidelines now.
They could easily be the richest company in the world as well if they have any sort of, if they're within their S1 or S4, whatever happens, whatever they file, they will have an agreement that they'll be allowed to sell X amount of shares, right? The at the market offering, and so they will become incredibly rich. So, I mean, that's what I would do if I had that company. Additionally, these Knowles will transfer over. I don't know what, have we determined what the Knoll value is? It's probably over $2 billion, right?
I mean, the latest determinable was 1.6, but now we think it's much more because there's unrealized tax losses.
Exactly.
And that was from last year.
And that was from last year.
Yeah.
So whatever their effective tax rate is, you can multiply that by that. And so it's whatever, 25 multiplied, or whatever, 0.25 multiplied by whatever. Yeah, 20. Okay, all right, so 20% of that. That's right. You're the accountant. What am I doing?
Right.
I'm just bullshitting here at this point. So that's about it, guys. I don't know. I think we're all just kind of waiting for something to happen. I think somebody's come up with some tinfoil for October 17th, so let's aim for that. We can move on.
Yeah, I said this yesterday. I think they need to get a business up and running definitely before Halloween at the least. They need to get Black Friday. They need to get Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving. They need to hit the ground running. Whatever this new brand is, whether it's Teddy, G-America, Bye Bye Baby Reincarnated, They need to get all of these key seasonal events and hit the market running, not have a slow release over January. It would make no sense.
No, I think they're going to hit the ground running all at once. And so I think soon, guys. I really think it's soon.
Do you think they've already converted the bonds to equity? Or like?
Oh, in private? Yeah, they could have. Does that require a notice?
Because
you're asking very good questions. Okay.
Not since Form 15 because everything's dark now.
That's true. Everything's dark. So technically, they could have.
Because I was just wondering how much, like, if the 901 was that we know that there's like 780 right now shares, if they just filled out the rest of the 901 and gave those to the bondholders.
The 901, this is per that New York filing, right? We have to wait until October 31st for them to update it. The 901, every single company in 2022 filed 901. It's a very standard number.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Okay, is that it's actually just a representation of the original issued when they first formed the company, the parent company. So it's really just a mirroring of what was initially orchestrated way back when in '82 or whatever.
Yeah, that's about it. Where's PP? What's he?
He's taking tonight off. He's stretching his feet and just giving himself a little bit of break. He'll be back tomorrow night.
Well, you're a wonderful host, ABC and Michael. You guys are all great. I appreciate y'all. I
appreciate you, brother, especially for hopping on tonight. We've got almost 1,300 people in here. So.
Oh, very cool. Okay, well, that's wow. Okay, that's a lot.
Anything you want to tell the 1,300 folks sitting at home watching you on YouTube?
I think Porsche wanted
go for
to
gold. That's about it, man.
I don't know if he had a question. I'll pull him on real quick. He might have a question for OK Bet.
Oh, Porsche. Okay.
I'm sure he's not here to ask me a question.
Okay. Well, it could be. I mean,
Hey, can you guys hear me all right?
There we go.
Yeah. You hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, so just one of the things I wanted to share was, I think when people get, again, I'm not the expert, but just kind of ideas to throw out there. And I think people get really confused about the transfer agent issue, the share canceling, and the reissuance and how that affects the short position. I mean, as far as I understand, I think the better way when you think about these things is to not think about shares as being something like a certificate, but rather to have kind of an understanding that really what it is an obligation and a right. So when they cancel the shares of the original Bed Bath & Beyond, if they're going to do a successor entity and there's some sort of a spin-off merger type situation, you have a right of that new equity if it's laid out in the BK docs or if it's issued by the articles of incorporation within the company to reissue those shares to any. So I think.
Uh-oh, we lost you.
You're starting to robot Porsche.
If you can hear us, you might need to drop out and reconnect. All right, maybe you heard us. So hopefully he'll
so you
rejoin
do have a right to these new shares, and remember they have an obligation to deliver, right? So wherever there's a right, there's an obligation from the counterparty, and so that's about it. Oh, he's back. Okay, great.
Porsche, go ahead.
Sorry, were you guys hearing it all?
We heard about half, I imagine.
About half, yeah.
Having a right to deliver or something.
Yeah, my.
Are you driving currently?
Yeah.
Well, if he's driving, guys, don't drive in YouTube. Okay, I don't know. I wouldn't advise that. No financial advice, but I wouldn't be driving.
Here's a question from One Neros super chat, $5. Okay, Bet, when you were playing the Winter Soldier, who was your favorite fellow Avenger?
I don't know what that is.
And nor do I.
No, sorry.
Appreciate the donation.
I don't know.
You only played the furry soldier, right?
I don't know where the hell did this rumor come from? This is not true at all.
I can see the resemblance now. Now that it's I can see this.
I hate you more and more. You're the one who got injured with the trampoline. Okay, I don't know why.
I didn't even get injured by a trampoline. I got injured by a cap that I wear on my head. Like, had I not been wearing the cap, I probably wouldn't have even had a scratch. Like,
good for you.
I'm fragile in my old age.
I am stuck in this trade with Travis. Jesus, what have I done? I made some bad financial decisions. So yeah, that's about it. Wow. Okay, so hopefully everyone's anxiety is at least quelled to a point. I wouldn't really worry at this point. I don't know. I mean, we just have to wait.
Yeah.
And I do think that they're not gonna drag their feet with this, right? And so I know people are worried about these, kind of extended deadlines that, oh, their exclusivity period ends all the way down there. They're not gonna use all of that. Okay, that'd be, it would be kind of stunning for them to do such a thing. And so they would, this bankruptcy took 155 days, I believe, total. When was the September 29th to when was the effective date from that?
4/23.
Yeah. So 4/23 to 9/29. I mean, come on, that's rapid quick. Okay.
Yeah.
Extremely fast. Normally these things take 18 to 36 months. And so these guys have built a plan. We're now on the ship, and we're going to figure out if it's a rocket ship or the Titanic.
And I know in court they basically said, they asked the judge, can we deal with some of these extraneous claims outside of the bankruptcy? And he did give approval for that. So we do have one case with Hobby Lobby, October 24th. I think that's going to be settled out of court. And if there is any remuneration to be split amongst the debtors, I'm sure it'll be a side agreement of some sort. I don't think.
Wait, why does it have to be though? Actually.
What's that?
You said it has to be settled out of court. Why do you say that?
Sorry, let me just. I really want it to be. That's what that's what I mean. No. It doesn't have to be necessarily. They have an evidentiary hearing coming out. I doubt it's going to go through. I'm pretty sure they're going to settle it out. I remember Michael Sirota's response was posted like 15 minutes after the hearing was done, so they already had everything ready. What I do want to correct myself. I think I was on Twitter ranting one day where I thought, well, no, all these leases have to be taken care of, but I was incorrect. The judge has actually given approval that you can take care of these extraneous circumstances elsewhere. Sometimes they don't do that, guys. Sometimes you need everything completely sewn up. So like in my cases, for example, when I work with, a lot of money laundering, it all has to be sewn up before, we can close. And so I'm just taking this from my experience and then transferring it onto this. These agreements usually allow to continue post-bankruptcy if the DIP is willing to post-bond cover potential loss. Yes, that's true. The bond is cheap relative to the actual cost. Yeah.
Yeah, and us knowing that 6th Street is probably a friendly party in this based on the law that they're representing, I guarantee they're going to ensure that liability should there be a settlement. But it sounds like this last case that has to be resolved in Bed Bath & Beyond's favor anyways, because it was an auction that went from $100,000 by Michaels up to $1.7 million for Hobby. So there's just more money for the creditors here.
Do you guys think Hudson's a proxy?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think 6th Street and Hudson are kind of working in tandem.
Yeah, I've got a theory that RC is behind Hudson and Carl is behind 6th Street.
Carl's behind 6th Street. Yeah, I think so.
Want to bet on it?
Oh, buddy, we already have a bet going.
We already have a bet. We're in the stock. Guys, we're on the
I got a bet
market.
going with Polte for 5,000, and Travis challenged me last week. He thinks RC is going to show up first. And I said, no, I'll do the same bet as Polte.
You take one private flight, and you're starting to place bets with everybody now, man.
No. And the bet is if we win, it's on the winning. So it's not, hey, if we're wrong.
It's a win-win for sure.
Win-win. Okay.
It's more of a fun.
Did you guys enjoy Florida? I think all three of you were there, right?
It was humid.
Well, it's Florida. You're in Texas, aren't you? Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean to.
No. I said it on stream. It's okay.
Okay.
I am in Texas. It's.
You got that Texas heat, all right? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's a terrible heat. Okay, well, glad you guys enjoyed Florida. It's a fun state, and yeah, it was a fun stream to watch.
Yeah,
perfect.
That's the only anxiety I've had in this whole play is trying to get the microphones to work. That one day, oh my gosh.
Well,
freaking Amazon,
I think
delayed my orders and delayed my flight, and I didn't have time to figure out how to mic 9 people at the same time.
I don't like tinfoil much, but what I will tell you is I think Polte has been instructed to do all this. So the ice cream, all of it, I think it was just instructions given via proxy, maybe his attorney, maybe the attorney that they share. I would be shocked for him to be involved like this, just kind of like because he wants to have fun. I don't know. I think he's been instructed.
I agree.
Yeah.
I did just get a $50 donation here. Jacqueline Carlson, my tits are jacked. Thank you, Travis, for the Jake and ABC for breaking down the timeline. Let's go. Thank you very much for your donation to the PP Show. Yeah, so I think we should almost wind this thing up. Maybe,
Perfect.
okay, do you want to give some closing thoughts? There's still over 1,200 people in here. We said we'd do an hour tonight. We're now into hour number 2, and I'm appreciative of you showing up, my man. I love hearing your knowledge on the
Oh, I
block.
apologize for extending this thing so long. Oh my God.
No, not at all. Hey, I can continue too. I mean, ultimately, I just think, we're in a holding pattern at this point. We can't sell, we can't buy.
Can't really do anything.
Everything's out of our control. It looks like the groundwork is laid. Ultimately, I believe, we're a week to 2 weeks away from understanding what the hell is going on. And
Sure.
I think it's going to be very favorable just based on all the documents we dug and the circumstantial evidence. I mean, what else is there to say? We all want to figure out the puzzle. We all want that validation of I figured it out first. But ultimately, I think your bank account will be verification and validation enough that
Exactly.
you did well in a high risk, high return play. It is an individual investment, but man, what a beautiful community for us to all dig deep like this, have these discussion and entertainment shows. I'm just fucking proud to be a part of it.
It's amazing. I want to thank you all for cultivating a wonderful community. You guys have been great. This has been phenomenal. I've met a lot of wonderful people. A lot of it's just like a broad span of knowledge, and I thank you all sincerely. Thank you. And then let's go for gold. Let's take care of this thing, and you will have.
When you say gold, you mean like the price of gold per share? Is that what you're saying when you say go for gold?
When I say
I'm just
go
kidding.
for gold, I mean go for all the gold. I want the whole thing. I want all of the tons. How many tons does the U.S. have? 6,000 tons. Get all of it. So.
Well, we've had 3 people make a request, okay, to kind of hear your price target with little parentheses, not financial advice, but I'll let you navigate that one.
Well, he'll need 2: central exchange and decentralized exchange.
The central exchange. Let's assume. So again, if Bed Bath is going to be canceled out, and then of course reissuance. The reissuance will likely be on blockchain. So there's no decentralized. There's no centralized component to that. If other companies are involved, like GameStop, for example, that will have a centralized component to it. So the central price target, I don't know. It'll be well over the previous all-time high in January. So what was that? 500. I think people were getting fractional shares of like 5,000 at one point. So we don't know. What I can tell you is the entire market, this is going to be an apocalyptic event. If this goes the way that I think it will, this market will get liquidated like you wouldn't believe. That I think 1929 will look like a joke. It's that serious. We're kind of at the precipice of this point. You have thousands of percentage points of naked shorts. It's not going to work. This market is broken inherently. Yep. Decentralized exchange, I think we can reach the bailouts. I can't give you a price target because I don't know the number of shares in existence, right? And so in terms of the bailouts, it will be well into the quadrillions easily. And I'm sticking by that number. Remember, in 2008, I keep repeating myself, so I apologize. In 2008, the swap prices for the CDOs and swaps, they had went above the total global market cap in 2008. And there weren't that many traders trading that. It went well above 60 trillion for one instrument. Like, you can only imagine where this is going to go. You got 70 countries involved in this trade. You have 400,000 plus holders of Bed Bath. Where do you think this is going to go? This is going to be cataclysmic. If this goes the way that I think it is, I can assure you it's going to be a nightmare for these people.
And also, I don't want to get too political. Obviously, what is sad, what's going on in Israel at the moment. But, the timing of a war to break out at the same time, it's not like it's related directly to the stock. However, there is going to be some sort of justification for the market crash upcoming. I don't know what kind of involvement the US would have with what's going on. The timing of it was just very, very strange to me.
And, they may very well blame retail, but I always tell people, look, don't ever blame yourselves. Okay, did you naked short the market? Were you corrupt? No. You're a retail investor. Half your orders aren't even going on the lit exchange. 90% of them aren't even. Technically, you're not even invested, right? So it's like they can't blame retail. So don't allow the government to do any of that. I would not pay attention to the media. It's at this point, it's just become a bunch of nonsense, and they're all going to kind of, have their tails between their legs and say, "Oh, I didn't know what happened, or what's going on, and why are interest rates like this?" And the other day, I got an article from Bloomberg. I pay them whatever for the news app. I pay them $300 plus per year, and they're posting articles like, "Oh, people apparently don't like inflation." You think? Like, why am I paying for this shit? It's kind of insane, no? I'm paying for that. Anyway.
I will feel very guilty if I found out Doug Sifu has to shut down Virtue. That would really hurt me.
I feel your pain, Sal.
Too.
These guys are going to be in big trouble. I promise. So, and that's about it, folks. That's all I got. I wish I had more material, but we have to. Once we get the data, then we can easily talk about this in depth. Okay.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Sounds good. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Some love for
thank
OK
you.
in the chat there. I appreciate you hopping on tonight. Okay. And look forward to talking to you soon, man.
You too, man. Okay. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Take.
Very soon. Let's do it. I mean, I'm jacked. I mean, and I think, he hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's people that are going to be in big trouble, and who knows how big this is going to go. I mean, he hit a few points that I was trying to chime in, and I'm forgetting them now because I'm ADHD and my, squirrel. But yeah, this could be. I have never been as bullish as I have been today for where this is going. I do believe the DK butterflies are shell companies. I do believe this is going somewhere else. I do believe we kind of have a time frame. The maximum is wider than most people want, but I think like the way we can hone it down is probably this upcoming week. And I hope I'm right. And if it is, I mean, our ship is finally sailed in, and let's go.
Yeah, it's been a long ride, but certainly probably not as long for the people that we believe in the play. I mean, they literally started on this literally years ago. I remember looking at the Wayback Machine and seeing August 12th of 2020 or 21, where I literally saw mock websites being built on teddy.com, with Lego and Baby and Bed Bath & Beyond products. I mean, we're talking, 3 years ago, almost, where people had an idea. And I imagine RC even had this idea while he was part of a Chewy, and he refused a deal from Amazon. I wonder why, because I think he had a big grand picture of what he wanted to do out there. He started with GameStop. He's turned that company into a plus billion cash surplus right now. He's moved on to his next target, and from what I'm suspecting, he's got quite a few big partners and players and companies and iconic brands involved, and I think this is just the infancy of it. And to me, I foresee in 3 to 5 years one of the top companies in the world orchestrating out of this play here, Bed Bath & Beyond, and it'd just be remarkable. What a incredible time to be alive, but it is bittersweet. And I say bittersweet because there's a very good chance that what the shorts and the illegal naked short selling has done through the derivative market is they have literally attacked and swamped and knocked these companies down, kicking the can, and guess what? It's time to pay the piper, and the entire financial system is at risk by those nefarious actions. So there's a lot of innocent people who are going to be, hurt in this process through institutions and funds being disappeared through their pensions. So I do think it is a responsibility, and there's got to be accountability for us in the play to kind of look at that and go, wow, we were blessed on the right play, investing in the right people, and we have that responsibility to pay it forward and create change ourselves. But we'll save that for another rant and another call, but I do think we're extremely close, Travis.
No, and you hit the nail on the head. I didn't think about that, and that brings things into perspective. This isn't a necessarily if we're right we win. It's you have to think about all the people that lose. No, we're not the ones that put those funds at risk. Agreed. We invested in a company and invested in a person that we believed in, and we're here. And if that, it could hurt everyday Americans. And you're right. We need, if on the other side of this trade, pay it forward. Somebody tweeted me today, and I made a tweet about something. They go, break the basket, and I said, no, break the system. And now that I think about it, what you just said, it's like, everyday Americans could get hurt from this. Everyday people, not just Americans. There's foreigners that invest in the U.S. markets, and yeah, whatever we do, this might be a pedestal that we get put on that we have to pay it forward. And if I'm gonna say it now because I was talking to somebody about this, one of my close friends who I told about the play a long time ago, and I told him, long time ago, DFV, he did this with GameStop, and he got called in front of congressional hearings, and yeah, I'm sure he didn't think about that happening to him when he was in this play. And so I will tell y'all this: I volunteer as tribute to go in front of Congress if it ever comes up, and I'll go for the entire group, because the last thing Congress wants me to do is, or the last thing Congress wants to happen is to have a guy like me show up at their doorstep and tell them, do you really want to know how our financial markets work? Sit down, shut up, actually go home, pack a lunchbox, come back because I'm taking you to school. Let's do this.
Well, based on the due diligence and the digging and what I've learned literally in friggin' 10 months, my man, this community is so well versed and they dig so deep. I do think that they could give, the regulators an education, because obviously they haven't changed much, because this has been brewing for decades, and they've been warned, by Elon and many others that change will be coming. And we're at this point in time where I think the regulators are now going to cut off the arms of the people that have fed them in a very nefarious way. And I do see change, but I also see us building a brand new system that is more transparent, that is better for the retail investor. And I do see a lot of big iconic brands and companies following suit. And if you can't beat the system, create a better one. And that's what I think might happen here.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you have to break the system before you can build a new one, and that's the unfortunate part of it.
Yep. And that's the bittersweet of this. And that's why I really ask, if you are blessed on this play and everything does come to fruition as you suspect it to be as an individual investor, I believe you have the responsibility not to just take a windfall and go hide in your, in your luxury and so on, but to actually continue, paying it forward and creating change yourself, because you were literally a chosen one. You were blessed. You were here at the right time. In the right community. And so I think you do have a responsibility to pay it forward and create change yourself. That will help alleviate some of the bittersweet here, because again, it wasn't us who created the short positions, who created the synthetics, who did the manipulation and, took advantage of all the loopholes. It was people with a mandate to sell our box and kill companies and destroy the American economy. And so if retail in any way is painted in the slightest notion that it's their fault, yeah, I'll be joining you, my man, because ultimately you can't blame, Peter when it was Paul that, ultimately did the nefarious stuff themselves.
Michael Salvatore? Yeah, no, I mean, there's one person that I'm thinking of that he's works at T0, and he was screwed over by Goldman Sachs, and it seems like he's kind of made his mission to take them down, and I 100% support him. So I'm excited. I think that
does that guy hate Ryan Cohen by any chance?
No, I don't. I highly doubt it.
Is it Codes? Mark Codes?
Oh, does he not like?
He hates Ryan Cohen. That guy is a grade A narcissist. I've been watching his tweets for a while. He's really? Just bitter. He was a short seller. Now he sells eggs, and he's been laughing and mocking Ryan Cohen for quite a while. He's quite a prick. If you hear him on the space calls, he's very.
I just stumbled into him like yesterday. So
I remember reading into him quite a bit last year and his whole involvement. But yeah, he was short. Goldman Sachs fucked him over. Now all of a sudden he became an activist leader against short selling after he got fucked over. And it goes to show, he's very well aware of all of the manipulation that goes on with short selling, because he fucking used it. He made money off it. Only when he got fucked over, suddenly he decided to be an activist against it.
Right.
Yeah, just read into him a bit more, especially on some of the Reddit posts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely not a good person.
Oh, okay. No, that's good to know. It saves me some time.
Well, guys,
but either way,
great.
there are people that are fed up with the people that are actually doing the crime, is people like Goldman Sachs that aren't actually delivering shares and all that. And maybe we have friends, maybe we have frenemies, people that just also have the same enemy. And either way, I think a lot of people are tired of the Goldman Sachs kind of Citadel Virtu system that's set up.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. I'll just wrap up now. I'll give my closing thoughts.
Yes.
I had an interesting day today. I managed to see Alpha Dildo Slap Platinum Sparkles on Twitter, which was hilarious to see. I saw Pote quite active in the community today. Obviously he said say hi to ABC before the show. He was engaging with quite a few people in the community today. What else did we see? Oh yeah, PP's going to have the CEO of Protocol Gemini and Wes Christian on soon. That's a very, very good two guests there. So I've definitely got some questions for those. And it was Protocol Gemini that tweeted out the Bed Bath and Beyond emojis when we were running up in February. So I wonder if they've been developing the products and the inventory for what we're going to be selling through the Teddy stuff. I'm sure they would have an inkling of what's about to appear. And I tweeted today, I said, when Ryan Cohen tweeted that he got off the phone with what was once a great American brand, lots of problems, no accountability for high-paid execs, and little interest in his help, this could get interesting. He tweeted that 2 weeks before we went Chapter 11. And to date, I've not seen any other great American brand that has got him listed as a creditor, an interested party in Chapter 11 court dockets, let alone the fact that he's holding global trademarks for Teddy in every category that we sell. And those trademarks were filed 4 days before he sold his shares while being an insider with material non-public information. So let's see how that plans out. I'm extremely excited. I think, this butterfly project is nearing completion. I'm highly confident shareholder equity will be preserved. For a company to have, thousands of loyal retail investors is such a huge asset to them itself. It's just an unspoken asset. I can't see us getting wiped out, and it'll be very interesting. It's definitely going to be a precedent for Chapter 11s. The same way we reference Hertz and TWA, other retail investors a year, 2 years from now will be referencing all the research that we've done, all the episodes, what we looked at, and they'll try and find similarities for other stocks in the future, because this will be a case study for future economic losses.
Wow. Well said, my man. Well said. So yeah, PP has a show tomorrow. I believe the special guest is coming tomorrow from Project Gemini.
Yes.
And then on Thursday, Sal, we have a call with Pote.
Yeah, and perhaps Marcus Lemonis too. He said he will try and join.
And then Friday, obviously, the PP show again. And then we believe in a week to two, Wes Christensen will be on the PP show as well, which kind of gives me an indication that this gentleman hinted at a major stock in the near future being the mother of all situations. And so with his appearance, maybe in a week or two, does that add to our timeline? We'll see.
Or maybe it's done by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he can talk about it, is because it's done.
That's right. Well, listen, Sal, I appreciate you hopping on, my man. I appreciate that well done video that we showed at the beginning. Butterflies galore. You sound like Attenberg. You got such a sweet and sultry voice. I often have to kind of pinch Mrs. ABC every now and then because I see her almost daydreaming as she listens to you. But I'll take it with a grain of salt.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, my man, I appreciate you.
Yeah, you guys are doing great, and I wanted to jump on today and show you support, especially I know PP's busy. I think the community needs it right now. I'm completely unscared. In fact, I would say I have unwavering conviction. But I know a lot of people are feeling anxious. They're feeling nervous. The best we can do is keep giving you the facts and the logic and let your own mind reassure you if it can. So thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thanks, Sal.
Have a good night.
Travis, brother, you want to give us some closing thoughts? We got 1173.74. Oh, there's the 174 number there.
There you go. I first want to, I know Salvatore kind of made a joke about Alpha giving Platinum Sparkles the mushroom stamp, and it's funny. It is. But I just want to say, although we had some discourse on Twitter. I thought we had a great engagement. Platinum Sparkles, myself, PP, and she even made a very genuine statement that I was like, look, I don't agree with you, but I totally respect that particular tweet and that particular statement about, like, you think this is going to happen, but you don't want to see people actually get wiped out and get hurt, but you think that, that's currently your thought process. And for that, you've earned my respect. You're not harping on people. You're not, saying, you're hoping people will lose. You think that that is your current thesis, and I can respect that. I can be on the other side of the play with that. And so if Platinum Sparkles is listening, hey, much respect for that particular discourse today, especially because you even got Pulte involved, which my notifications then went.
No, I agree.
Mark,
I think it's important, you know what? And I commend you for actually giving her the respect on the other side of the fence, so to speak, because ultimately, whether you're a GM holder or Bed Bath and Beyond holder, or a lot of stocks, I've done a count of about 117 that have been naked shorted almost into the ground. And so, really, I think the common thread is the bigger picture here of providing more market transparency. And so, whether you're just a GameStop holder, Bed Bath & Beyond, or both, I think it's really important for the community to have these discussions. So to have a discussion like you did with Platinum today, I invite it, I encourage it. I say hand out the olive branches. And now, if anybody's kind of nefarious and doesn't want to bring any information to the table, and they're just out to kind of be vindictive and destroy your thesis, then yes, ignore and move on. But at this point in time, I say the more the merrier as we kind of elaborate and figure out what this market truly needs. So kudos to you, my man.
Yeah, and in a way, I agree. I made a tweet that says, look, it is unity. Whether you're GME elitist, Bobby elitist, AMC elitist, look, any win for any of us negates a win of another, because most people are going to take their winnings and put it into the other one that they know is pretty much oversold or overshorted, and try to, get that one to slowly increase, where we get another squeeze. And one win by either play in this community, whoever it may be, whoever may be first, one win negates the wins of others if we work together. And this is about market corruption. That's how it started. I'm an 8-bit hard. I have been since January 2021. And that's how I learned so much about this community, is because somebody freaking stole my money in January 2021. I wanted to figure out why. I wanted to figure out how did this happen. And I sat down and I learned and I researched, and I became an ape at heart, and ape strong together, whether you're in one play, two plays, three plays. If any one of these wins, we all are going to win in the end. And it's about market corruption. Don't break the basket, break the system. Yes, there are consequences of doing that. Everyday people are going to get hurt. And, the average American might get hurt. People with 401ks, all this. We didn't do that. We didn't. Don't give yourself any guilt for that, because you didn't overshort, you didn't naked short, you didn't break the rules, you didn't break the laws, you invested in the company you believed in. But with that new power comes responsibility, in that you need to pay it forward in the future, if the time comes, and if that day comes, is we may have to rebuild from the ground up. And I think blockchain is kind of that stepping stone. I think we'll need to expedite a process to blockchain for almost everything on the market. I think the entire system is going to crash, but at the same time, pay, whatever your winnings are, pay it forward, help your everyday person, be kind, and be kind to each other. Just whatever you got to do. I mean, this could be cataclysmic, unfortunately. But we didn't do that. And any sociopath, asshole, bedpost throwing dickhead who wants to tell me that, I can see you in front of Congress. Let's go.
Well said, my man.
I'm gonna end it on that. That was dope. I like that ending.
Well said, my man. Listen, I'm sure I'll hook up with you in spaces, and we'll see you on probably tomorrow's PP show as well. So I wish you a pretty amazing night, brother, and thank you for hopping on and saving me. And we'll talk soon, my man. Well said.
Michael, have a good night. ABC, good seeing you as always. Y'all take it easy.
Take care, Travis.
Bye.
Michael, Any closing thoughts, my man? You got over 1,100 people in here. Anything you want to share with them before we close up the show? And
I'm just excited. I love all the people here. I love that the change is happening, and I've been thinking about GameStop and how it was shorted 138%. So even if a third of us paper hand it, right? If the short interest is probably a lot more than that anyway, but we could still just pick our price, which is crazy, and it's going to be amazing. Just watching Sears stock today just go up, and knowing that that's going to be us, that's crazy. So I'm excited. So
awesome, brother. I appreciate you showing up tonight. I appreciate you adding your insight. I'm sure we'll see you tomorrow on the PP show, and then hopefully on Spaces again. So thanks for joining me, brother. I appreciate you.
No problem. Appreciate you.
Have a good night, my man. If everybody could show some love for Travis and Michael in the chat. And there you have it, the PP show. And I want to give a genuine apology to anybody that has donated tonight. I'm not as quick as PP and be able to run down and catch up on all the donations. So if I have missed you or I didn't put it up on screen to give you some acknowledgement, you got my heart-held thanks. The money is going to support PP and his show and the hard work he puts in. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate Chad here. I appreciate all our guests from Salvatore to Jake to Travis, Michael, and OK Bets who have showed up tonight. Thursday, I won't be doing a show because we do have a Spaces call with Bill Pulte, and I'm looking forward to that show. We're going to be talking about his company and what his grandpa built from the ground up, and it's going to be an interesting insight. So I encourage everybody to hop on at 7:41, I believe it is, Eastern Time on Twitter. X Spaces, where we're all going to have a little round table with Bill and talk about his company and the legacy of his grandfather and possibly market manipulation in that regards. And for the rest of you, we'll see you tomorrow night on the PP show. Stay blessed, stay humble. And as the last words to each and everyone, make a plan, because if you are blessed and this does go your way, make a plan, because without a plan, you're not going to get too far. So that's my words of wisdom is sit down and decide what your future is going to be like and how you can help others out there. Stay tuned. God bless. Appreciate you all. Have a good night, everyone. And I guess I should do the final dildo slap like PP does, eh? And there you have it.